Join me as we watch how an ordinary guy gets trapped in his favorite comic book and meets the goddess of his dreams. Knowing the original plot, he realized a brutal truth with his current power. He could never protect her, guarantee her a happy ending. He decided to become her personal villain. Your little game is over, Agostic. You did well this time. No wonder I accepted you as my rival, though I don't need approval from trash like you. So you are the one who has been ruining my plans and standing in my way. Today is the last time we play. You have grown up and do not need this anymore. From now on, I won't appear before you again. Take care, Stardust. And right after saying those words, he threw himself off the rooftop. With an unreadable look on her face, she ran after him, completely unable to process what just happened. To make sense of all this, we have to rewind a few years. His name was Kim Dane. First glance, it seemed like any modern city, but it was completely different from the world he lived in. Villains cause daily terror, while superpowered heroes fly in to stop them. He soon realized he had reincarnated straight into the universe of his favorite comic book, Stardust, villain custom made just for her. He would call himself Egostic, and his first plan was hunting down other villains. Look, by using his past life's knowledge of the original storyline, he would eliminate future threats while they were still weak, before they could cause any real disasters. He would not let those bastards hurt his favorite heroine, Stardust, and since he knew the script, he also awakened his own powers in this new world. Quickly located his very first target. Primary ability of Agostic was short-range teleportation. Putting right next to his target, he immediately activated his second power, telekinesis. Without even breaking a sweat, he took down the villain, who was studying mall blueprints. Just as he suspected, a terror attack was planned. In the original story, he became an S-rank villain, who would wear a rhino mask to ruthlessly slaughter hundreds of innocent citizens. Suddenly, a voice blared in Stardust's earpiece. The Hero Association reports gunfire. Get to the location in under 5 minutes. Before leaving the scene, Agostic left his signature mark. Soon after, the association confirmed the deceased was a C-rank villain named Rhino. Based on the style, they suspected the same guy who wiped out the A-rank villain Enzodia before vanishing without a trace. They swore to capture him with her own hands. Meanwhile, the news went absolutely viral on the internet. The mysterious villain eliminated a C-rank. People commented that since he only hunted down criminals, he basically acted like a hero. Villains just went to jail. They would only end up escaping sooner or later. It was better to end them. He did what heroes did not dare to. Seeing these comments, he could not help but complain. I know what you are thinking. What am I doing now? What are you muttering over there? Keep your voice down, warned Hanzo, his genius hacker ally, because he killed a criminal. The public thought he was a hero. At this rate, Agostic's reputation would only keep getting better. He would hate the heroine for trying to catch him, ruining Stardust's public image. He had to stop this. He had to prove Agostic was a real threat. This is why he prepared to make his official debut as a true villain. He packed some heavy explosives and got ready to take action. His target was a massive 111-story observation tower, famous for its incredible scenic views. Suddenly, his voice echoed over the speakers. Hello everyone, I am Agostic, the one who took out Rhino and Enzodia. Won't waste your time with boring explanations. You all see this. Rigged this tower with bombs and just started a live stream. Games begin. There is a villain on stage. We need the heroine. Stardust, protector of this district. Get over here quick. He adjusted his cape, mask, and suit, incredibly excited to finally meet her face to face. This was no longer just a comic, but actual reality. And she was the ultimate heroine, Stardust. When he first arrived in this world, he prayed to God, begging to return home. Seeing Stardust made him realize he was in his favorite comic. Put out, maybe he could stand by her side. He read this story 1,000 times, so stay with me to find out what happens next. Want to see something crazy? Stick with me, because to protect his girl, this man had to choose the darkest path, become her personal villain, so nobody better make any sudden moves. Coordinate controls the live stream and has a remote detonator, so don't even think about using force. What do you think of this spectacular stage I designed especially for you? This was so incredibly furious, she called him insane, demanding he free the innocent civilians immediately so she could lock him up. Since that is the request of Stardust, the very symbol of justice, of course I will let them go. Letting them out that easy would be boring. Right now, if anyone presses the down elevator button, the opposite tower blows. Only 30 minutes left before all the bombs explode. Better hurry and press that button. You're strangers, and if strangers die, it won't weigh on your conscience, right? Stardust was absolutely furious, but there was nothing she could do at that exact moment. Everyone to see how selfish humans are. My game, a Agostic's game. And inside that tower, everyone was thinking the exact same thing. The people on the other side pressed the button first. Everyone in their tower would inevitably die. Now pay attention here, because nobody could guarantee the other group wouldn't betray them first. Stardust knew that even if she defeated Agostic instantly, if other hidden detonators existed elsewhere, tons of people could die. That is why she immediately asked if he really enjoyed using them as toys. It is not them I find amusing, but you, Stardust. You are one of the fewer rank heroes with iron convictions, and you would never yield to evil. Honestly, I respect you. Stardust did not understand what he meant by that. In reality, Kim Dane just wanted to publicly praise her right in front of the entire nation. Since you look so helpless, I will let you play. I will connect you to everyone desperately waiting for their savior, and convince them not to press the button before 30 minutes pass. The bombs will not go off. Stardust asked why she should believe him, and Agostic replied that it was still better than doing absolutely nothing. With that, Kim Dane vanished from the spot, and immediately all the drones and cameras focused on Stardust. Stardust began addressing the crowd, telling them she was the A-rank hero, Stardust, and knew they all had goodness inside. And this was exactly what Kim Dane wanted. He wanted everyone to remember that the villain caused this terror. This is brilliant. Just had to shine, and he had already set the perfect stage. Stardust's speech deeply moved everyone, and in the end, none of the bombs exploded. Kim Dane seized the moment to appear again and deliver his classic dramatic villain exit speech. Those selfish humans did not press the button to save themselves. How is that possible? Someone should have. There have been at least one selfish person like me. Humanity cannot be this generous. Stardust instantly shut him down. People are not that selfish, and deep down human nature is good. Kim Dane acted like a defeated villain, dramatically pointing his finger right at Stardust. This happened because of you. You were the link that bound them, but I will win next time, he vowed before she struck him. Kim Dane's body began to slowly fade away, taking one last look at those eyes filled with justice. Rescued civilians cheered for Stardust while Kim Dane secretly teleported away to another location. On arrival, he collapsed to the ground due to the brutal side effects of his teleportation. The damage to his body was directly proportional to the distance he had traveled. Looked like he would spend at least 2 days in bed. Suddenly, a voice complained, "Didn't I tell you not to wear that hat? It looks terrible, like some cheap villain. Quick, get me some water because I am dying here." The way he drank that water was pretty comical, but at least he made it. Meanwhile, a breaking news report appeared on television. A villain with 0 casualties has emerged. The bastard Agostic really played with everyone's minds. Next time, I swear I will catch him. A major emergency meeting was called at the Korean Hero Association because the dreaded A-rank villain, Agostic, has caused an absolute massive uproar. Agostic, male, wears a mask that seems to distort and weaken the perception people have of him. We already know all of that information. Move straight to yesterday's incident. And that is where we leave it, teleporting to plant bombs on the outer walls. Stick with me today, because forensics just proved that high-performance homemade bomb had the absolute power to blow up the entire observatory. Did he really build it all by himself? And what about the hacking? Still 0 clues on how they bypassed the most advanced defense system. Analyzing the live stream, they did not detect any user with high-level hacking abilities anywhere near the scene. In short, Agostic might have a highly brilliant technical assistant working for him from the shadows. This ally probably manufactured the explosives. By the way, Agostic also seems to have a sick obsession with the hero, Stardust. It's extremely obvious from the direct messages he keeps leaving for her at all his crime scenes. The president of the Korean Heroes Association, Park Junho, looked at Stardust and asked if she saw him face to face, wanting her impressions. To Stardust, he was a total lunatic playing mind games, someone capable of planning large-scale terror attacks, without a doubt a true villain. Days later, we cut over to Kim Dane's room. Due to the side effects of his teleportation power, he was still lying there half dead, dying of thirst. He barely dragged himself up for water. "Brother," Did you drink straight from the bottle again? Kim Dane instantly denied it. Han So-in was the girl calling him that. Later on in the original comic, she is destined to become an S-rank villain and a genius hacker. That is exactly why Kim Dane kept her close. Hey brother, this is my house, so why are you acting like you own the place? Kim Dane replied that he already paid her living expenses. Han So-in was basically living in a basement. It reminded him again that when drinking water, his mouth shouldn't touch the bottle. Got it. Now pay close attention, because right at this exact second, something major happened that changed the entire playing field. Didn't you mention some girl named Lee Subin before? She is my top assistant candidate, the one active online. You said she looked like an Agostic superfan. Well, the TV news was showing her right at the crime scene. Agostic copycats were taking hostages and committing crimes there. They had even planted bombs inside the building. Kim Dane thought she had been kidnapped, but the masked woman was actually Lee Subin herself. These fake Agostic followers refused to negotiate, claiming they only wanted to spread terror and death. The police already had 3 casualties, with 300 hostages trapped inside. The number 1 rule is to never kill innocent civilians, so we have to deal with them. Are you going to help me? She replied she'd decide after seeing how he performed. Outside the building, Stardust requested permission to enter, but her superiors strictly ordered her to hold her position. If she forced her way in, the criminals would kill everyone. For her, this was entirely Agostic's fault. Previously, these types of crimes were only committed by regular villains with ordinary superpowers. Nobody had ever seen a villain combine powers, explosives, and hacking like this. Backing her into a corner, Agostic gave other criminals ideas. He never imagined copycats would show up. The very next day, she received a last-minute report. Agostic had actually showed up at the attack site and was broadcasting live on YouTube. I know what you're thinking, is this a trap? Just watch him stroll right into the building like he owns the place. The masked thugs cheered in excitement, shouting that their hero, Master Agostic, had come in person to end those ignorant fools. Kim Dane's entire body was aching from the long-distance teleportation, and it was all their fault. At 3 o'clock, the guy standing right by the pillar has the detonator. Locking onto his target, he used telekinesis to slam him down. Thugs instantly realized the trick, screaming that this was not Agostic, but a hero's watchdog pretending to be their boss. Right away, they aimed all of their weapons straight at him. After all, I don't need brainless followers. Kim Dane seized complete control of their weapons using his telekinesis, and he took them out one by one. Over on YouTube, the chat was bewildered. Wasn't Agostic on their side? Why was he attacking them? Meanwhile, Stardust got the green light and plunged straight into the danger. Her mission was to rescue the hostages from both the terrorists and Agostic. Soon only one criminal remained, and a voice echoed in his ear. Brother, don't kill her. Confirmed she had been dragged there by force and played no part in the crime. Thinking she was about to die, the girl burst into desperate tears. Kim Dane pulled off her mask, revealing Lee Subin, the very person they had been searching for this entire time. Kept sobbing and apologizing over and over, stared intensely at her and asked why she wouldn't stop crying. Then he turned to the trapped hostages to apologize, saying that even though he didn't do this copycat crime happened because of him. And trust me, nobody on the internet could believe what we were witnessing. All right, let's dive into this crazy villain who literally promised to send compensation money straight to every single hostage's bank account and to check their balances, while also apologizing to the families of the 3 victims who tragically lost their lives. Promised to send them the highest financial payout possible. Kim Dane knew all too well that routing those massive funds through stolen accounts was incredibly risky. They would eventually track it anyway, but at this point, he couldn't care less. Right then, Soon's voice suddenly echoed through his earpiece. Brother, take that girl with you. Hearing her, Kim Dane immediately slung the woman over his shoulder. The massive fatigue from his long-range teleportation was kicking in, and his body was hitting its absolute limit. Suddenly, with a massive crash, Stardust slammed onto the scene, absolutely determined to put an end to Agostic. Lunged forward to strike, but missed because Kim Dane's legs gave out, and by the time she recovered, he had already teleported away. Shortly after, at a local university, students were buzzing about the news of how this villain actually reimbursed the victims. In fact, the internet had already given Agostic a hilarious nickname, Mango Stick. Jin Haru stared at her screen with an anxious face, prompting her senior, Kim Chi-han to ask if she was struggling with her homework. Nothing, I just spaced out for a second. Little did anyone know, the elite A-rank hero Stardust was actually Shinharu. While on duty, she utilized a perception filter device to completely mask her identity, hiding the fact that she was just an ordinary college student. Shinharu was anything but ordinary. Right now she had a massive headache named Egostic. Selfish prick constantly ranted about how corrupt and selfish humanity is. So why the heck did he save those hostages? Suddenly, Kim Chi-han pinched her cheeks, teasing her for having that dead-eyed face again. Stop overthinking and let's go grab your favorite mango shaved ice. Hearing that, Shinharu was instantly incredibly tempted. Ridiculous nickname Mango Stick flashed across her mind. Her expression soured in instant frustration. Her senior had no clue that not even her beloved Mango could save her mood today. Damn villain was living rent-free in her head. She absolutely had to catch him and expose his true identity. Bill went for her dessert though, but watch closely here while she's eating. The scene shifts to a completely ordinary-looking house. Stepping past the main front door, there was a hidden secondary entrance tucked right next to the foyer. Opening up that secret second door revealed an elevator waiting with its doors already wide open. Punching the security passcode inside the cab sent them plunging dozens of floors deep underground. They arrived at Egostic's secret hideout, which he proudly claimed as his base, even though Soon scolded him for taking over her property. Soon, why draw lines between yours and mine? Yours is mine, and what's mine is yours, right? But as he got swept up in his excitement, he shifted his leg, sending a sharp agony through him that made him scream. The brutal toll of his travels. Soon snapped at him, demanding to know why he was being so dramatic over a simple double teleport. Literally doubles the strain. You know, the genius ability user. And if that wasn't why he recruited her, Kim Dane had to admit her recovery capsules were incredibly useful. Returned from grocery shopping and asked them if they wanted anything to eat. Kim Dane froze, asking how a wanted fugitive could just casually walk outside, but she simply claimed her bangs covered her face. Deadpanned back that dressing like that made her look 10 times more suspicious. The mention of food soon dashed over. Honestly, I think we both know she was only brought here to do grocery runs. He asked Soon why she made him fetch her, and she confessed she wanted to turn Subin into her official assistant. Subin hadn't committed any serious crimes yet. They could easily offer her a safe haven. Kim Dane was absolutely against harboring a literal terrorist. What if she decided to start shooting inside the base? In reality, Subin never planned that attack. She was just dragged along by her followers. Your name is Lee Subin, right? I already know basically everything about you. Your parents were researchers for the Hunan group. Shocked, Subin asked how she knew, and soon revealed she found it on the dark web. You want revenge, don't you? Wanted to make them pay for what they did to your late parents. We're actually targeting the leaders of the Hunan group too, since we were also victims of their cruelty. Only when we track those people down and utterly destroy them will we finally get our closure. So what do you and I make of this? This girl, just like Soon, was another tragic victim of the Hunan group. Come along with me to see how he convinced Seo to join him, promising her the ultimate revenge. Of course, he also did not want Seo to become the terrifying S-rank villain of the original story. Lee Subin, she never appeared in the original story, so she was probably just an irrelevant side character. Meant she posed no real threat, though he still had no idea just how useful she could be. The two girls, bonded by shared pain, hug and burst into tears. Kim Jane could barely process how fast their emotional connection was growing, and from that very moment, Soon's disguise as a boy completely crumbled. That is right, Taewin had been pretending to be a boy this whole time, so Kim Dane decided to stay out of it and just went to sleep. Meanwhile, somewhere else, a man was forcing a woman to eat with him, saying he only liked her. Did you really have to look so miserable? Just then, a cop arrived, saying he was reported for violence and had to go to the station. The guy ordered him to get lost immediately. The officer responded coldly, "That is resisting arrest, so I am taking you in." The guy scoffed, "You are just a cop. What are you so proud of?" He immediately activated his power, teleporting the officer straight to a rooftop and then pushing him off the edge. That man was the notorious A-rank villain, Kim Hopchel. Now pay attention here. In the original story, this villain was actually more popular than the heroes, completely overshadowing them and paving the way for the future supervillain, the terrifying S-rank supervillain, the White Witch Han Sen. Her opponent was still Stardust, but the current Hansen was not ready. In fact, she was already screaming at Kim Dane just for drinking some of her orange juice. Lee Sabuin quickly clarified that she was the one who finished it, promising to buy her more orange juice later. The moment Seoen realized her sister drank it, she instantly changed her attitude and said it was fine. Kim Dane realized this girl was just taking it out on him, so he decided to tease her right then and there. What? Let us uncover the tragic history of the sole survivor of the Hannon Group's Illumination Project, where they ran illegal experiments on hundreds of kids. One day, an unexpected side effect manifested in one of those children. Everyone involved died except for Seo, who dragged her broken body out of the facility to hide deep underground. There she built the base they used now, living completely alone for years until Kim Dane found her, though she was extremely defensive back then. Kim Dane asked if she wanted revenge, assuring her that he actually needed her help, not come here to hurt you. My only goal is to save you. In the original plot, her twisted desire for revenge made her an S-rank villain destined to die, something Kim Dane could not allow under any circumstances, even though she was already his accomplice. And let's face it, that technically made her a villain. Still had to guide her down the right path, but she had no manners and angrily snapped, asking what he was staring at. Would not understand even if you kept staring. On the other hand, Lee Sububin lost her researcher parents but self-taught herself enough to get into a prestigious tech university. In the future, she could really help soon, but since Kim Dane did not know her character, she felt a bit suspicious to him. But her cooking was the best part. Look closely because Soon just pulled out a GPS tracker. Kim Dane asked why she made that, and Soon snapped back, asking if he had already forgotten their real job. The tracker is for their next target. A B-rank villain named Kim Hokshul who possesses teleportation abilities. He can only teleport short distances, but his ability has absolutely no negative side effects. It means he can spam it, and since you cannot grab him with telekinesis, he is incredibly annoying. You know they must strike. Though Kim Dane complained about the brutal physical and mental toll of teleporting, so she ignored his whining and told him to shut up and get to work. A bit later, Kim Dane arrived on the roof of the target building. Leo kept pressuring him to hurry, but Kim Dane worried if the target was inside, making her impatiently repeat the exact same thing. Honestly, watching him dodge bullets with teleportation is going to be completely wild. Get ready. The tracker will stick anyway because it is faster than a bullet. I know you are a humanities major, so you would not understand. Stop wasting time and get in. Kim Dane asked if it would not be much better to just take him out in the street. With a target who constantly teleports and never goes public, this is where it gets crazy. Stick with me to see this master plan. Everything to get this guy off his back, while Lee Subin backs Egostic up. Seo Yoon shyly wished him luck. Immediately, Kim Dae-in teleported straight into the house of the A-rank villain, Kim Hak-sho. Caught him right as he was drying his hair, and without hesitating, Dae-in shot him twice. Kim Hak-cho teleported away instantly. Dae-in asked if the tracker was working, and Subin checked the map, calling out his location. He is 500 meters to the east. Dae-in warped right after him, but ended up in a crowded public street. Immediately started whispering, wondering if it was the famous Egostic. Main character knew he was in deep trouble. Definitely not part of the plan. Someone was already live streaming, shouting that Egostic had popped up downtown. Meanwhile, over at the university, Shin Haru suddenly got the shocking news that Egostic was spotted in the city. Ordered to report to the association for immediate deployment, she slammed her desk and stood up abruptly. Remembering she was still in the middle of a class, she apologized quickly, but still rushed straight out. He needed to know what Egostic was planning this time. Meanwhile, Seo Yoon told Dae-in to look at the corner crosswalk. It looked like their target was indeed wounded. Without a single second thought, Dae-in teleported over, ready to finish him off. Right at that exact moment, a truck barreled straight toward him. Kim Hak-sho's trap. He wanted to crush his attacker, but pay close attention here, because Dae-in dodged that massive truck with some insane teleportation. Kim Hak-cho never expected his perfect trap to fail, so he immediately used his teleportation to flee once again. Landing safely on a building rooftop, it finally clicked in his head that his relentless attacker was actually Egostic. That meant those other slaughtered villains didn't die because of some personal grudge, though honestly, he didn't care anymore. Voice echoed, calling him an A-rank villain and sending him to hell, making onlookers wonder if Agostic only targeted criminals. Kim Hak-cho ran again, triggering an intense high-speed chase where both of them warped repeatedly across the city, then grabbed a random pedestrian and threw them backward. Day-in caught the hostage safely, and since Kim Hak-cho was already bleeding from those bullet wounds, he finally collapsed. Dayan looked down on him coldly, stating that he knew every single crime the villain had ever committed, stole tens of billions in assets, and directly caused the deaths of 4 completely innocent people. Then Dayan turned to the crowd, asking if they wanted him to live, and everyone screamed to kill him without mercy. Kim Hak-cho cursed them in a rage, screaming that demanding his death made them no different from a monster like him. Dayan knew for a fact that this guy would eventually become an S-rank villain, costing hundreds of lives. Worse, he would end up hurting Stardust. I know what you're thinking, and yes, Dayan ended him with several shots. The weirdest part was seeing the crowd cheer wildly instead of running away in panic. That was definitely not normal. Aside from the existence of actual superpowers, this world honestly felt a lot like his old home. But with every crazy event, Dayan remembered this place was vastly different from his reality, and he would never get used to it. He aimed his gun at the crowd, asking if they feared him as a villain, until a sharp voice suddenly cut him off. It was Stardust, who had just arrived. Dayan knew that causing a bigger scene here would draw way too much attention. In her everyday life, Stardust was just a cold, ordinary college student. When she transformed, she used an old-school, adorable hero tone that he found absolutely precious. She demanded to know what he had done, to which Dayan simply threw the question right back with heavy irony. He said he just put down a dangerous A-rank thief, doing the job the heroes avoided, leaving her completely speechless. If it was an A-rank, heroes could execute him. But she questioned if he actually believed himself to be a hero. Day-in saw the perfect chance to make the crowd support Stardust, since plenty of onlookers were recording them live right now. Though he admitted it was illegal for a villain like him to play vigilante right in front of a real heroine, he declared his admiration for her unshakable sense of justice, and withdrew, leaving the surrounding crowd murmuring in deep confusion. Only heroes catch bad guys. Stardust always seemed to arrive only after all the hard work was already done. Could never catch a teleporting enemy. So what did our villain actually do wrong here? Dayan honestly felt like the entire original storyline was spinning completely out of control, and screamed through the earpiece, telling him to stop giving grand speeches and get back immediately. Running out of time, Dayan warned Stardust he'd keep committing crimes. This heroine's obsession is just getting started. Get ready, because you and I are about to watch something insane. Challenges Stardust to stop him right before warping away and letting the crowd scatter. Stardust was left standing there alone with a deeply conflicted look. Once Kim Dayan got back home, Seo Yoon immediately called Lee Subin to help him recover from his teleportation side effect. They had to struggle together just to drag Dayan's body. While online, users were already starting a poll about him. Compared to the cold and old-school Stardust, everyone preferred the true man of the hour, Mango Stick. The votes supporting Agostic completely crushed Stardust in the poll. Reading the comments, Stardust's face darkened with unreadable thoughts back when she was only 17. Someone brutally murdered her parents. In a rush, they fled before finishing the job, allowing her to barely survive. That very night, her Stardust powers awakened. Meanwhile, back at their base, Kim Da-in finally opened his eyes. Seo Yoon told him to eat something while the news played, reporting on the notorious A-rank villain Agostic. He had defeated the A-rank villain Rhino and that dangerous S-rank criminal in Zodia, brought excitement to the boring lives of citizens, and that tower incident ended with 0 casualties. He even stopped his own followers' terror attack and paid the hostages massive financial compensation. After that, he defeated Teleport, an A-rank villain the association considered one of their toughest targets. Now watch closely. The public doesn't even see him as a villain. One post got 7,842 upvotes and only 12 downvotes. Many believed Agostic was far stronger than Stardust and that she was doing absolutely nothing useful. After all, Agostic had already captured at least 3 villains, while Stardust, an A-rank hero, had 0 major achievements. Both Shadow Walker and Frostblade saved dozens of innocent lives, and even hundreds of people. Compared to them, Stardust seemed useless, and now Egostic even had his own fan forum. Kim De-in couldn't understand these lunatics. Why on earth would anyone create a fan forum for a villain? Couldn't let this slide. He had to plan his next crime immediately. He had to show them who the real villain and hero were, and most importantly, boost Stardust's popularity sky high. Meanwhile, Shinharu was eating mango ice cream, but she couldn't stop thinking about all the harsh criticisms people threw at her. Did Stardust only show up after everything ended? With her strength, she could never catch a teleporting villain anyway. Unlike other heroes who only handed out light punishments, citizens preferred Agostic, who dealt with villains directly, didn't understand why they criticized her after she worked so hard. She patted her cheeks to snap out of it. Suddenly, her senior Kim Chae-im asked her what was wrong. She told Shinharu that the weather was beautiful and that she should take a break once in a while. Then she pulled out her phone to show her something interesting that had gone insanely viral online lately. It was Agostic's official forum, the Mango Crew. I know what you're thinking, but people are totally obsessed with him lately. Shinharu never imagined even Chae-im would support that guy. To make things worse, he was currently broadcasting live. Immediately a message arrived for Shinharu. Agostic had just mentioned her directly by her hero name. The association ordered her to report and head to the scene. Rue quickly said goodbye to her senior and rushed off. This time she would catch him no matter what. The stage was an abandoned railway track where Da-in was already streaming. Just as expected, the chat was going wild. Lately, he'd been getting thousands of messages from people claiming to worship him. Many said he wasn't a villain but a true hero, even founding his official fan club, the Mango Crew. Aren't you guys getting this all wrong? I'm a villain, and the train is about to arrive. Stardust, are you watching this? The chat filled with question marks until a very curious comment popped up, calling her out even at a time like this. Now that's true love. Rules of this game are incredibly simple. Will she choose to save a single person or 5? Or will she sacrifice the few for the greater good? Pull the lever. The people on the other track die. Try saving everyone at once and I'll blow up the train instantly. Only have one choice. Right in that tense second, Stardust finally arrived at the scene. For a moment, she was completely paralyzed. If she tried to rescue everyone together, the train passengers would be in grave danger. She had to find a way to save every single person, but the train was already hurtling toward them. The crowd thought saving 4 instead of 1 was obvious, but he knew her well. You'll want to see what happens next. Watch this with me. She decided to charge the train directly, ignoring that Lee Subabin was at the controls. Kim Dane totally overacted, screaming, "What on earth is Stardust doing? If she keeps this up, she will get crushed. Why is she trying to get herself killed?" In the comments, someone joked that he was a total tsundere. Stardust managed to slow the train, but the speed kept rising because a panicked Lee Subin had passed out at the controls. Until now, everything was going smoothly, except for the tiny detail that Shadow Walker only operated at night. Kim Dane would have been way more comfortable making his move in the dark. Planning this crime in broad daylight forced him to monitor way too many variables at once. Connecting all the pieces of his master plan, Kim Dane could not help but feel pretty proud. In the original story, Stardust got depressed after defeating villains, but grew stronger with each battle. Kim Dane had already taken care of eliminating those threats early for her. However, without a real crisis, she would never manage to awaken her true potential. That is why this train incident was the perfect stage he designed to train her. Of course, he had to play dumb in public and make everyone believe it was just a terrible accident, even though in reality every single second was coldly calculated. Stardust's core abilities were super strength and flight, but both were missing that final 2%. Of that tiny gap, she still could not cement herself as an A-rank hero. In theory, stopping this train was completely impossible for her. Look closely at this. Stardust's true power was not just limited to super strength and flight. Every single time she faced real danger, her power would explode on a massive scale. This is why Kim Dane trusted she would stop the speeding train. But out of nowhere, Subin completely passed out. No matter how much Kim Dane tried calling her, she did not respond. Completely ruined all his calculations. When a single hostage on the tracks died, the plan would fail and Stardust would fall hopelessly into despair. Just as Kim Dane ran completely out of options, Stardust energy suddenly exploded once again. Inches away from crushing the hostage, she stopped the massive machine with pure brute force. In that very moment, she shattered her tragic fate and avoided despair. Seeing her successfully stop the train, Kim Dane could not hold back and cheered, "Well done," though he instantly corrected himself to cover it up. He actually managed to stop that thing. I know what you are thinking, it did not go as planned, but she solved the dilemma her way. Some users questioned why Agostic cheered like that, but public opinion had already shifted completely to Stardust's side. This event completely cleared her public image, which was exactly the result Kim Dane was looking for. Staring directly at the livestream camera, he declared, "Did you all see that? That is the hero Stardust. As long as she wants to save lives, her strength is limitless." After exhausting every last ounce of her energy, Stardust ended up passing out. Seeing her fall, Kim Dane instantly teleported to her side. She could barely open one eye to see the villain Agostic watching over her. "Well done. Won this time. I'm leaving now, so get some rest." The gentle touch, Kim Dane closed her eyes. Criminal act ends here. Thanks to everyone for tuning in, leaving viewers deeply intrigued by the bizarre tension brewing between the two of them. Next morning, Soin burst in, shouting to wake him up, complaining that he only pulled off one stunt and already looked like a walking corpse. Nagging, she cooked up 3 bowls of instant ramen and served them right to him. Lee Subin could not believe Soin actually made something edible. Kim Dane patted her head, thanking her with absolute warmth. Inhaling the ramen, the 3 turned on the TV. They wanted to see how the national media reported yesterday's criminal stunt. Kim Dane was absolutely sure his reputation as an arch-villain was now firmly established. Stardust's fame would also skyrocket, making this the perfect plan to kill 2 birds with one stone. When Soin read the main headline, she burst out laughing. The news claimed Stardust and Agostic were in a secret relationship. Anchor went on to explain that after the A-rank hero's dramatic train rescue, they had to analyze this photo. Looking at the photo, chemistry between the villain and heroine screamed romance. And Haru was watching the news at that exact moment. She was so furious that she shattered her teacup, completely unable to process such utter nonsense from the press. The report continued, Korea's most infamous villain, Agostic, and the rising superstar Stardust were in a passionate love affair. And trust me, once you and I see that viral photo, we will completely understand why. Written on the bomb, and trust me, that was only the beginning. It said the bomb was a gift for Stardust. Now, just look at this scene and the tender eyes of Mango Stick. Not love, then what is? After that touch from Mango Stick, Stardust closed her eyes and slept peacefully. Not count as a date, then what does? Back at school, Shinharu kept watching the video, wondering if the entire world had actually gone completely insane. How could they say she was in love with such a crazy villain? That would never happen. Absolutely never. Yet, while hatred and disgust boiled inside her, a strange feeling began to mix in something she could not even comprehend. Chi-hin approached her. Haru, today we are going to heal your poor soul from all that homework stress. Let us go party. Pay close attention here. Back at the secret base, Han Son was rolling on the floor, begging to go out. Since they had already completed 2 successful crimes, Kim Dane finally agreed to let her go out. Jumped right up and celebrated with pure excitement. In the story, he was a clear supervillain, yet he drew such an incredible expression from our heroine. 3 years ago at the Hero Association, back then, the association revealed a piece of equipment that was absolutely essential for any active hero. It was called the Perception Filtering Device, known simply as the filter. Once a hero entered the machine, a special layer masked their face, causing facial blindness to anyone who looked at them. But if a hero ever showed their real face to someone they knew, the filter would stop working instantly. Everyone present knew exactly how dangerous it was to expose a hero's real identity. It would not just destroy their career, it would ruin their entire life. That was the golden rule to remember. Right at that moment, the terrifying Crocodile Man appeared and started unleashing absolute chaos everywhere. Shinharu had no time to head back and activate the filter, but she believed a true hero must never run away. prepared to fight him barefaced. Right then, a voice suddenly shouted, "It is Egostic. Gostic is here." Haru heard it too. Greatest villain of this entire era. Like enemy of Korea was me, Egostic. Think about it with me. I knew Stardust would suffer if her face was revealed. Rose normal everyday life is sacred. That is why I immediately provoked the Crocodile Man. For nothing but trash. The Crocodile Man recognized him immediately. The guy standing right there was Egostic, the same villain who was acting so affectionate with Stardust. The live stream chat went wild over the arrival of Stardust's obsessed fanboy. Meanwhile, Crocodile Man quickly scaled up the wall. He leaped onto the roof, charging straight at Kim Dane, who simply teleported right above his scaly head. "You know my name, but not my teleportation," he taunted, giving him a playful tap on his head. The mutant tried to strike back but missed completely, roaring in absolute fury for a fair, clean fight. Kim Dane replied, "I am the villain, Egostic. Why would I ever fight fair?" Still, he remembered he needed to justify why Egostic had suddenly shown up in this location. Otherwise, people would assume he only came for Stardust. Looked at the mutant and said, "Hey, Crocodile, let me ask you something. Who did you attack?" Crocodile Man snapped back, "My goal is Stardust, so fighting you is the most natural thing here. I'm way too interested in Stardust, and that makes you my enemy." Kim Dane could not grasp that twisted logic, but the live chat comments were already going absolutely wild. This dumb villain knows Mango Stick likes Stardust. No clue about the teleportation, but he knows he loves her. Two guys fighting over one woman. The Crocodile Man pointed at Egostic and roared, "You said you would kill me first." Kim Dane denied it instantly. When did I ever say such nonsense? The comments kept insisting that he did. "A crocodile messing around in my territory is dead meat today. Were those not your exact words?" Kim Dane panicked completely. To top it off, he did not mean that at all. Since when is this crocodile so good at debating? And the worst part, guys, is that everyone agrees with him. Seeing Egostic play dumb, the Crocodile Man roared furiously and began charging up a massive fireball in his mouth. Kim Dane knew what was coming. You and I know a weak move like that would never touch him. One touch from that beast meant instant death. But stick with me, watch how many weapons he has hidden up his sleeve. Tons of weapons floated in midair. In his telekinesis, he fired them all at the exact same time. Smoke cleared, the Crocodile Man was completely unscathed. "You really think some simple bullets could scratch me?" But Kim Dane just smirked, because this was all part of his master plan. He needed his enemy arrogant, then suddenly took off his mask. Quickly putting on a gas mask, he whipped out a spherical bomb and chucked it straight at the massive reptile. The explosive landed right down the monster's throat. And then boom, a massive face-melting blast rocked the entire area. In the original webtoon, that tough skin gave Stardust a massive headache, and Dane was fully prepared for it. The live chat went absolutely wild, saying the association should just name Mango Stick an official hero right now. Himself a villain, he had just saved the city. Feeling that much psychic energy comes with a heavy price. Now, pay attention here. His body was completely pushed past its limit, and he didn't even have the strength to recall his weapons. Lifting his phone felt like absolute torture. Rushed to clear things up on stream, claiming he only showed up because he hated that oversized lizard. Definitely didn't do it to help Stardust, and certainly not for justice. His chat immediately laughed, saying, "Yeah, right, totally believable." Just then, Stardust arrived in her hero suit. Seeing the defeated lizard unconscious on the ground, she asked if he did this. Kim Dane coldly replied that the beast was just in his way. But Stardust wasn't done questioning him yet. When she asked why, he scoffed and said the guy kept yelling rumors about them being in a romantic relationship, and that annoyed him. Immediately after saying that, Kim Dane muted the audio of his live broadcast, then whispered to Stardust to never reveal her real face again. Identity got out. Her life would turn into a living nightmare. Before she could even process his warning, he faced his viewers again and announced he was ending the stream. A major event is happening next month, so stay tuned for that. His chat went crazy, desperately demanding to know what they talked about while the stream was muted. But before Stardust could react, he teleported away. Back at his hideout, Kim Dane coughed up blood, his body completely broken from the strain. Very next second, he collapsed completely unconscious onto the cold floor. Meanwhile, Stardust picked up the mask Kim Dane had left behind, softly wondering how he always managed to read her mind. Back at home, Shin Haru went online to check the breaking news. Headlines reported that the dangerous A-rank villain, the Crocodile Man, was arrested after his defeat by Agostic and sent straight to the high-security superhuman prison. Incredibly, Agostic, who was also an A-rank villain, had arrived on the scene first. Not a villain anymore. At this point, the guy actually had a massively loyal fan base. I know what you're thinking, is this guy even a villain? Shin Haru had a massive headache seeing literally everyone loving Agostic, but then his warnings echoed in her mind: never show your real face to others like you did today. She couldn't help but wonder if the public was right, and she was the only one who had it wrong. Meanwhile, Kim Danes was still in a coma, and Seo-in blamed Stardust for his terrible condition. In the middle of her complaining, Kim Dane finally opened his eyes, asking why everyone looked so depressed. Immediately hugged him, crying her eyes out, and he realized he had been unconscious for 3 whole days. And the reason was simple: he had overused his teleportation and telekinesis too many times in a row. Teary eyes, Seo-in demanded he take better care of himself. Kim Dane never expected her to cry this much for him. Yes, all those video games we played together weren't a complete waste of time. Subin also asked why he rushed to fight the crocodile, saying anyone who saw him would think he's a true hero. Seo-in chimed in, reminding him he always brags about being a supervillain. So why is he constantly saving everyone? Kim Dane explained that if he hadn't stepped in, Stardust would have fought alone, which would have ended in disaster. If a hero's face gets revealed to the public, all their private info gets leaked, every single enemy would hunt her down. So Seo-in asked him, what does that have to do with us? Kim Dane revealed a harsh truth: their world had been completely broken and unfair from the very beginning. Good and evil are never truly balanced here, which is why superhuman beings would much rather become villains. And what do you and I make of this? Heroes don't get paid, they get hunted down, and villains humiliate them. And I really think about it, becoming a villain is just way more appealing. Just look at Korea's A-rank heroes. We have Stardust, Shadow Walker, and Frostblade, but A-rank villains. There are way too many to count. Hearing that, Seo-yoon couldn't help but mock him. So, are you going to hunt villains for the heroes? Wouldn't that make you some kind of dark hero? Then asked what any of this had to do with them. Kim Dae-in quickly argued it was no big deal, claiming he just cared about Korea's future. But she eyed him with pure suspicion, asking if he had a crush on Stardust. Don't tell me you are doing all of this just because you like that girl. Dae-in corrected her immediately. Hey, don't refer to her like that. Show some respect. Suddenly, the atmosphere got incredibly tense. Lee Soo-bin quickly stepped in to calm things down. Seo-yoon, didn't you say you wanted to talk about something? Seo-yoon finally remembered. Right, summer is almost here, so let's go on a trip. Dan loved the idea. First, they needed another scheme to make the public hate him more, forcing Stardust to grow even stronger. There was absolutely no guarantee that another beast like Crocodile Man wouldn't suddenly show up again. Stardust had fought Crocodile Man back then. It would have been a complete disaster. Complained. Now pay attention, here are they actually going on a trip. They even ended up making a pinky promise. Only then did Seo-yoon go pack her bags. Their next mission, Dae-in already had dozens of plans lined up. Since the tower and train incidents both happened on land, this time they had to choose between the water or the sky. Dae-in racked his brain for ages until he found his answer while watching a news report about a plane crash. Both Seo-yoon and Da-in let out a chilling laugh at the exact same moment. Soon after, aboard a flight cruising high in the sky, passengers were casually chatting and laughing in the cabin. The lights suddenly shut off completely. First, nobody really thought anything of it. They even thought the dark made the sky look cooler, adding a nice vibe. Right then, a voice echoed, "Hello, everyone. This is the ultimate trivia show at 25,000 feet in the air. Welcome to our live broadcast." Immediately started complaining to the flight attendant, but the broadcast just kept playing over the speakers. There is a bomb rigged on this plane right now. The moment those words hit, total panic erupted everywhere. Bet you didn't see that coming. Is on, and back at the association, Stardust gets the emergency hijack news. The president warned her that even if she went now, there was no guarantee she could stop the disaster. Stardust slammed the table in absolute rage. The president of the association really allowed to spout such utter nonsense. I'm going right now. The president tried to argue he wasn't stopping her when a lazy voice chimed in. What an exhausting day. The person stepping into the room was none other than the A-rank hero, Shadow Walker. He told the president that he needed to sleep the moment they reached the airport, since he couldn't fight like this. The president advised them not to push themselves too hard, reminding them that they simply couldn't save every single person. Flashing across town, they reached the airport instantly, but the sight waiting for them made their blood run completely cold. On Earth are we supposed to stop that? The passenger plane, engulfed in flames, was plunging straight from the clouds. For Diane, acting as a personal trainer villain for a hero, helping her level up was absolutely crucial. Years ago, during a certain hero's debut, a group of villains gathered in one place. Among them was even an S-rank villain named Thousand Mellors, and the one who showed up alone was the A-rank hero, Shadow Walker, whose skill let him turn into a mysterious liquid at night. Not only did he move with insane speed, but his strikes were absolutely devastating. He was invincible at night, but a useless joke during the day. Meanwhile, Egostick already knew that Stardust had arrived on scene, announced it was time to move on to the highly anticipated final round of questions. 30 minutes earlier, the high-altitude game had officially kicked off, and he laid out the rules. Everyone turn on your phones and disable airplane mode. You should have just received a text with 10 questions in total. If someone gets every single answer right, the bomb is defused. If nobody manages to, you are all doomed. Send your correct answers directly to this number. Starting right now, looking at anyone else's screen is strictly forbidden. Make even the slightest sound and you are disqualified. 1. How many people fit into a Titanic lifeboat? And just like that, guys, for making one tiny sound, she was instantly eliminated from the game. Today we are watching how they eliminate the guy next to him, leaving the chat completely horrified. And who here said Agostic was a hero? Well, we finally have the answer to that major first question. There were 9 people because in Korean, the number 9 sounds exactly like the word rescue. Seo Yoon realized Diane was loving this twisted game. Minutes ticked by, people kept falling without end. The game reached the final round with just one survivor left, right as Stardust was about to reach the scene. Agostic announced, "Before we start this long-awaited final round, I would like to ask you a quick question first. Your answer will decide everyone's life here. Kim Dukbae of Bombay Dong, you are our last contestant. How do you feel?" Kim Dukbae answered with complete seriousness, saying he felt an overwhelming weight of responsibility resting on his shoulders. Agostic had already warned them not to make any sound. So everyone lost and the plane is going down. Mention here because the stage is set for our heroine Stardust to witness this absolutely horrifying scene. Desperately asked the president what she should do, but he just replied, "What else are you going to do? Give up. I am busy writing a public statement right now. The minister is calling me, so I must hang up." Last time she barely stopped a runaway train, but seriously, how is she supposed to save an entire crashing airplane? In that moment, she remembered the night her parents died, the very she swore to get her revenge, not save anyone, just like back then. But suddenly a familiar voice echoed on her communicator. Kim Diane thought this terror attack was proving to be way too easy since he was controlling everything remotely. However, Seo Yoon noticed something strange right away. Why is Stardust just standing there without making a single move? The moment Diane saw her, his expression flipped completely. What is Stardust doing? Seo Yoon patched me into her communicator. "Quickly, hurry up, we have no time left." Suddenly, a familiar voice echoed directly inside of Stardust's ear. "Hey there, Agostic speaking." Stardust instantly lashed out, calling him trash, but Da-in did not even flinch. "I'm just curious. Why do you want to save them? The plane is crashing, so why sit there doing nothing?" Stardust furiously screamed back, "You are the one crashing this plane. Why are you asking me to stop it? Who else is going to do it? If that metal hunk crashes, every passenger will turn to dust." Stardust grit her teeth in rage, asking, "Is this your plan? Are you trying to force me to die right here?" "I know what you are thinking, but Diane tells her with total faith you can do this. Fly up and save them. If it is you, you can succeed because that is who you are, Stardust." She had no clue what this maniac wanted, and continued, "How could I want to kill you? Without you, I would just be a generic, forgettable villain. You made me who I am today." Hearing those words, Stardust froze in her tracks, completely stunned for a second. She suspected Egostic was planning something dirty under the cover of this chaos. But this time she decided to go along with it, launching herself straight toward the plummeting airplane. Just watch them die. The guilt would haunt her forever. And Dayan knew exactly that she would save them. The final contestant, Kim Duck-bae, struck down, believing he killed everyone because he failed to focus just a bit more at the end. Suddenly, the plane started slowing down because Stardust was holding it up from below with her insane physical strength. Thanks to the crew, the passengers landed safely. Only then did they realize their savior had been Stardust all along and had protected everyone. In the end, Stardust quietly whispered a single name under her breath: Egostic. The plane crash shocked the entire world. The kind of being was the great hero Stardust, really. Many nations had to admit that when it came to heroes, Korea was on an absolute next level tier. In fact, even combining heroes from several different nations, they could not match the sheer power of Korea. News reports stated that yesterday, the rank of villain Egostic took remote control of a plane, causing it to crash. Fortunately, they rescued all passengers unharmed. The one who stopped the fast-falling plane was the nation's pride, the great Stardust. Many experts had claimed that with her current skills, it was impossible to stop the fall. Of course, you and I know Haru watched this exact news live. And her phone rang, and a voice on the other line said, "Hey, the president gave you the day off. Come see the ocean and let's relax together." All right, you and I are about to dive into one crazy journey. Shinharu has not had fun in forever, so she happily agreed to go out tomorrow and invite Kim Ja-sun. Remembered what Egostic told her: you can definitely do it because that is just who you are. She knew no one had ever believed in her like that before, and yet he was nothing more than a villain. So why on earth did he ask her to save that plane? He knew she could stop it and save everyone. Why did he make the plane crash in the first place? Without you, I would just be some ordinary run-of-the-mill villain. You are the only one who made me who I am today. There were still too many questions surrounding Egostic. For some reason, Shinharu felt there must be another motive behind everything he did. So she decided to investigate his every move during this time. Right then, the Hero Association gave her a call, informing her that they needed to measure her ability stats once again. On the other hand, Soin was so incredibly excited she could barely sit still. Long-awaited trip day finally arrived, marking Kim Dane's very first real break since he landed in this strange world. Having fun once in a while did not seem so bad, but shortly after departing, they got totally stuck in heavy traffic. Closely here, the air conditioning broke down today of all days, and everyone was literally cooking alive inside that car. Could not help but complain, "Hey, can you not just teleport us along with the car?" Kim Dane shot back instantly. "The side effects would literally kill me. Let us pull over at a rest stop first." Ewan grumbled that they should have taken the train, but Kim Dane rejected that since they had way too much luggage. Ewan noticed something extremely bizarre right next to her. Not look like holiday bags Kim Dane packed beforehand, and that you never know what might happen on the road. Ewan immediately screamed, asking what kind of trip this was, and started causing a massive scene inside the hot car. Not long after, the group finally reached the beach, where the super sweet Lee Seobin bought drinks for everyone. With a slightly blushing face, she told him, "I have always been so grateful to you," leaving Kim Dane totally confused. Grateful for what? Lee Seobin replied, "Honestly, for everything. First of all, thank you for saving me, and thank you for always treating me so well." But Kim Dane replied, "What are you saying? I should thank you. You take care of the house, and most importantly, your cooking is amazing." Hearing that, Lee Seobin whispered softly, "I know what you are thinking," but while she was happy, Kim Dane felt this vibe was a total death flag. Was she seriously about to betray him? And started doubting if she had spiked his drink with something. Meanwhile, over at the Korean Hero Association, 2 staff members were actively discussing the latest results. "Do not think we made a mistake measuring. According to our data, she should not have stopped that plane." The other replied, "That is exactly why the data must be wrong. Could we just not measure her true power from the start?" But Stardust knew deep down that the test data was actually correct. After stopping that impossible disaster, her strength clearly surged. The staff was completely shocked by what they were seeing. Back on the beach, Lee Seobin handed Kim Dane another drink, blushing as she repeated how grateful she felt. Kim Dane figured she was truly going to betray him, so he forced himself to calm down and said, "I will rely on you too." From the side, "Are you two just going to leave me here and keep flirting?" Such a beautiful scene. Lee Seobin hurriedly denied it flirting. "No way, it is really not what it looks like. Since it was a group trip, everyone had to have fun." Hearing that, Kim Dane suddenly scooped Seowon up and threw her straight into the ocean. Immediately shrieked about getting water up her nose. A rare peaceful moment. Just like that, the three played happily on the shore. Meanwhile, elsewhere, someone asked, "Where is our unit attacking tonight?" The answer was crystal clear: the Marriott Royal Hotel. This time we are going big. Luck would have it, the place Kim Dane and the girls booked was that exact same hotel. To make matters worse, the room was under Seowin's name, and they only booked one. She thought it was fine to save cash. Plus, there was a giant bed, so wouldn't it be easier if they all just slept together? Lee Seobin said it had been ages since 3 people slept together, so it sounded fine. Kim Dane warned her, "Don't phrase it like that. 3 of us have literally never slept together before." Kim Dane kept telling himself nothing would go wrong. And as you and I probably guessed, things went totally sideways when the door got kicked wide open. Kim Dane immediately activated his telekinesis, knocking out both intruders. He was absolutely furious. What on earth is wrong with these people? You and I are about to watch our main character open the door to find masked thugs attacking hotel guests. Kim Dane was utterly speechless. Seriously, a terrorist attack during their vacation. Talk about having the absolute worst luck ever. Every time they traveled, chaos followed. Worst of all, these idiots dared to attack at night, right under the nose of Shadow Walker. Checking his phone, he discovered that the A-rank hero, Shadow Walker, just been found unconscious in Incheon. Right then, Seo Yoon woke up from the noise and asked what was going on. Jin quickly explained that hotel was under siege. Honestly, by now, Seo Yoon was way too used to this kind of crazy drama. Told her to wake up Subin and wait in the room while he rushed down to the parking garage. He never thought his vacation would ruin like this. He immediately teleported outside, knowing they would never leave if he didn't handle it himself. He never expected to use his emergency spare mask so soon. A cold, menacing smile spread across Dane's face. He wanted to see which bastard dared ruin his break, then teleported back to give noise-cancelling headphones to Seo Yoon and Subin. It was showtime. Seo Yoon could only watch in utter confusion at the massive, creepy grin plastered on her brother's face. Most of the guests were already cornered. Leading this brutal raid was none other than the dangerous A-rank villain, Monkey Spanner. Now pay attention here, because this crazy villain orders his men to contact the Hero Association using hundreds of hostages. If they did not transfer the ransom money immediately, he would execute every single hostage. But suddenly, a cold voice echoed through the room. Boring terrorist act ends today, as Dane activated his telekinesis. In the blink of an eye, he completely disarmed the thugs and slammed them all to the ground. While the hostages panicked, that single massive move drained all the telekinetic energy he had saved up for months. Instantly launched another strike at Monkey Spanner, but the villain dodged and could only sneer at him with total disgust. "You brought these pathetic trash minions to pull off a heist." Livid, Monkey Spanner pulled his gun and fired with a loud bang. The bullet ripped right into Dane's stomach. Straining through the agonizing pain, he mocked, "You only had one shot, is that it?" But his condition was critical. One wrong move, and he would bleed out and die right there in a matter of minutes. Every single survival instinct screamed at him to run away immediately. Monkey Spanner only wanted to exploit Shadow Walker's absence to steal a fortune and make a quick getaway, but he suddenly suspected the man before him was the infamous Egostic. Was he on his hit list? Hiding out in this hotel. Sensing his hesitation, Dane spoke up. "You look nervous, Monkey Spanner. You exactly one chance to run." Furious, Monkey Spanner demanded to know his scheme. Dane simply looked at him and asked, "A plan? That all your tiny brain can think of? You completely ruined my highly anticipated, peaceful vacation. So beat it before I lose my patience." On the inside, believe me, Dane was begging with all his heart for this guy to leave. So dizzy he could barely keep his eyes open. Meanwhile, Monkey Spanner concluded this was his golden chance to escape. As long as he survived, he could rebuild. One day he would rule as the absolute king of South Korea. Couldn't die in some mediocre place like this. The next second, he converted into a streak of light and fled the building. But right then, a massive clenched fist smashed straight into his face, sending him flying backward with a single punch. The newcomer was the incredible superhero Stardust, who coldly commanded, "You are surrounded. Drop your weapons and surrender now." However, as she looked around, she noticed every single villain was already unconscious, sprawled across the floor. Right after Frostblade, another A-rank hero, arrived. Seeing this chaotic disaster, he couldn't help but make a sarcastic comment. Unbelievable. Fake news that Shadow Walker was down, thinking they could easily pull off a crime spree and get away with it. Shadow Walker himself showed up. Instantly, all eyes turned to Dane, who could barely even stand. Dane had no idea why all these top heroes arrived from the exact same direction. Stardust cautiously approached and questioned him. "Who are you? Entire attack on your own?" He knew passing out for even a second meant death. Luckily, it seemed they still hadn't uncovered his true identity as Egostic. He needed to buy time until he could teleport away twice. So putting on a calm front, he confidently replied, "Who am I? I am an S-rank hero working deep undercover, hiding my true identity from the world." Hearing this, the three A-rank heroes didn't believe a word. Frostblade knit his brows, looking extremely annoyed at his claim. The association has zero records of any S-rank heroes. Nonsense is this. "Who the hell are you really?" Dane quickly fires back. "Hero Stardust, do you and I not know what a classified mission is?" Alright, stick with me as our main character stares down two pro heroes claiming to be a legend from the past. Over the comms, Subin and Seo Yoon had no idea what he was doing, but Dane kept up his shameless act. He mocks them for not greeting their elders, but Stardust just glares back at him with pure intense suspicion. Dane studies her face and shrugs, acting like she obviously can't comprehend the grand words of a legend. "Fine, I will tell you. I'm close. I am." And right then, he spots a kid wearing fruit-themed clothes. No other choice, Dane blurts out that he is the great hero, Apple Mango. Immediately, the crowd starts whispering about how absolutely ridiculous and stupid that fake name sounds. Frostblade calls the association president, who confirms there is no Apple Mango, and immediately pressures him again. "No hero exists with that name. Who are you?" Dane keeps playing along, calling them rude brats. "Know your president's real name was Park Mansion, but he changed it because it sounded too ugly. Go verify it if you doubt me." And freezes on the spot after hearing that massive secret. Pay close attention here, because even Dane never expected his random game knowledge to save his life today. Still denies knowing him. Someone in the crowd speaks up. "Heroes, that masked guy just beat all the villains here. No matter who he is." Dane is practically crying tears of joy. He can just stall for a bit more energy, he can escape. The man keeps talking, adding that he saw him controlling floating weapons to defeat the bad guys. "I think he is that guy from TV, Ego something." Hearing those words, Stardust stares directly at Dane. Dane desperately prays in his mind for the guy to shut up, but Stardust narrows her eyes. "No wonder you seemed suspicious from the start. We'll capture you first, then confirm your identity." Inside his head, Dane frantically begs the universe for just a little more time. Just a tiny bit. Suddenly, Frostblade unleashes his ice powers to attack, while Shadow Walker instantly teleports right behind him. Then Stardust charges directly at him, but at that exact moment, Dane still cannot move his body. You and I can feel the tension as our wounded main character is cornered, but he teleports away at the last second. A split second later, he suddenly teleports right inside the getaway car next to Seo Yoon and Subin. Dane immediately barks out orders for Seo Yoon to erase any trace of their presence here, including hotel databases and all security footage. And us, we are doomed. With that, he passes out. Going to a real hospital means instant capture, so they must rush back to their secret base immediately. While driving, Subin yells at Seo Yoon to grab the medical kit and give Dane emergency first aid. Seo Yoon is in absolute panic since she has never had to handle a critical emergency like this before. Subin just screams at her to hurry up, because they need to escape the area right now. He complains that villains are ruining his only day off from hero duty. Shadow Walker leaves to get some sleep, while Chae-hyun sits there, blaming herself for everything that happened. But Shadow Walker shrugs and says she would have come anyway, turning to ask Stardust for backup. Meanwhile, Subin is driving like an absolute maniac, flooring the pedal to 220. Other drivers are terrified, while Stardust makes a vow to investigate Egostic as thoroughly as possible. Once, in his past life, 19-year-old Dane was happily reading the Stardust superhero comic book. The author constantly made the female lead suffer, and then ended the entire story very abruptly. The book took the useless protagonist trope to the absolute extreme, and Dane fell asleep reading it. Only a bright light flashed. Back to the present, Dane is lying inside the base recovery pod. Seo-yoon stays by his side looking exhausted. Subin brings her food, but she has zero appetite. Seeing Dane lying there in such a terrible state, she simply cannot stop crying again. Seo-yoon forces herself to take a bite. Dane's weak voice suddenly echoes in the room. Wow, eating while your beloved brother is practically dying. Dane is finally awake, making her sob with relief. They dive right into another round of funny bickering and playful, frustrated punches. And that is where we leave it, with the entire internet debating if a victimless crime is actually a crime. Trust me, you're going to love this. Shinharu knew that without Egostic's call, pushing her to take that leap, he never could have stopped that catastrophe. It was as if he already knew her power had spiked massively. But how did he know? Maybe it was just a coincidence, but her new strength was real. And there was another suspicious detail. Almost every villain Egostic took out possessed abilities that could cause massive disasters down the line. No matter how you looked at it, Egostic wasn't a hero, but he wasn't just some evil villain either, definitely playing a much bigger game. In his next move, she had to expose his true identity, real motive behind all of Egostic's terror attacks. He even knew the association president's real name wasn't Park Junho, but actually Park Min-chan. Was Egostic a former S-rank hero who went rogue after clashing with the association? While the three ate, Seo-yoon read the online rumors aloud. Theory of Egostic clashing with the hero association was spreading fast, and hearing this only pained Kim Dane. Then Lee Subin told Seo-yoon to stop bothering him for the time being. She asked Dane, "What do you plan to do now?" Screaming, "You're a villain while planning more criminal operations, and you're absolute wreck of a body. Really think you can pull it off?" Dane explained that he needed at least a 3-month break. Hearing that, Seo-yoon and Subin finally relaxed. Dane said, "I'll lay low for a bit. Once I drop off the radar, public interest will naturally die down." Now, pay attention here. This is where we recruit a new member with a healing ability that's completely unique to this world. Left alone, she'd eventually become a world-breaking villain. Since he didn't want to kill her, he absolutely had to recruit her. 3 months later, a brand new villain appeared out of nowhere, and Stardust immediately geared up for action. First question was whether it was Egostic, but the answer was no. New villain went by Low Point. No one knew what Egostic had been doing for 3 months, while Dane watched the fight cheering, "Go Stardust. Give it your all." Without a doubt, that new villain Low Point took an absolute beating. With her power boosted, Stardust was unstoppable. Seo-yoon stared at him and asked, "Does this really amuse you so much? We have actual work to do. I can't stand seeing you act like an obsessed Stardust fanboy every single day." Dane immediately played dumb, but Seo-yoon coldly called him out Kim Dane, the leader of Stardust fan club. "Think I wouldn't find out? I'm an elite hacker." He quickly clarified it was just a tiny hobby. Now their next big mission was about to begin a major operation to recruit a crucial new member. Meanwhile, in another part of town, pedestrians walked peacefully until a young girl intentionally bumped into one of them, slightly apologized on the outside, but she had already swiped his wallet without him noticing a thing, and a shady group was watching her closely. Just then, her 13-year-old little brother, Chae-yoon, came running over. Seeing her brother was hurt, she used her ability to heal him instantly before telling him gently to head home first. "I'll buy you something delicious. You and I see a sweet girl here, but this is Lee Hae-yul, the future villain, Villain X." When she got home, some thugs were waiting. The leader sneered, saying he knew exactly this would happen. This group was the notorious Swamp Dogs gang. Hadn't they already warned her about this plain and clear? "Steal on our turf and hide it, and you die." Hae-yul demanded they release her brother, but the thug just mocked her. "Seems your sister still doesn't know her place. Today we're going to show her just how helpless she really is." As he spoke, he prepared to plunge the knife, but in a split second, a powerful impact sent the weapon flying. The other thugs dropped one by one from invisible strikes. Suddenly, over a dozen weapons were pointing right at them. Hae-yul seized the chance to rescue her brother. Today was the 17th, and to make things worse, it was a Friday. According to the original story, Today was the tragic day her little brother, Chae-yoon, would die at these gangsters' hands. Losing him would drive Hae-yul completely insane, turning her into a villain. Dane had been a second late. Tragedy would have struck. Hae-yul realized someone else had just arrived and quickly shielded her little brother behind her back. Dane said, "Hey Chae-yoon, I came for you guys. Why would a villain come for us? You're a feared criminal, aren't you?" And Dane replied, "Why else? Came to rescue you from danger, isn't it obvious? Be a major hassle if anyone else showed up. To go with him. He's a dangerous villain, so what do you and I think happens next? Let's find out together. Come along with me." Little Chae-yoon runs up and excitedly yells that he's also a member of the Mango crew. Kim Dane absolutely didn't expect this. Shortly after, he brings both siblings to the base and announces that they are their newest members. Them to introduce themselves, so Lee Hae-yul nervously states her name and introduces her little brother, Lee Chae-yoon. Seo Yoon-ha also notices that their brand new recruit is not just a talented healer, but actually a girl. Later, inside the base, Seo realizes that Lee Hae-yul is still being incredibly guarded and defensive around them. She looked exactly like herself when she first met the boss. Suddenly, she spots Kim Dane drinking straight from the bottle again. Immediately snaps at him, shouting that she already told him never to drink straight from the container. Quickly clarifies that it is his mango juice and that hers is chilling inside the refrigerator. Things down, Kim Dane asks Seo and Subin to step outside so he can speak with Hae-yul alone. Before leaving, Seo playfully sticks her tongue out at him. In an instant, only Kim Dane and the siblings remain in the room. Attention to this twist, because Dane cuts straight to the chase and asks if she fled after killing her orphanage director. That awful guy abused both of them. Because of that, Dane didn't find her by chance. He had it planned all along. He came with a clear motive. He wants them to live happily and comfortably, but not in this cold underground shelter. Turns out, he already set up a portal, and they will soon be moving into a massive residence. Live there together, and both can attend school. Hale simply cannot comprehend why this man is being so kind to her. They barely even know each other. But Dane explains he does all this because he has a little sister her age. Dane excitedly cuts in, mentioning he has watched all of the Mango crew's criminal heists more than once. Dane smiles and invites them to live together, promising it will be super fun and that they aren't bad people. Then he leads them toward the portal. Even though Hae-yul remains suspicious, her little brother has already crossed over enthusiastically, leaving her with no choice but to follow. Once there, Dane asks her if she likes the place, because this is going to be their new permanent home. Ryan looks thrilled. We'll sleep on the 3rd floor, and Dane prepared 2 private rooms on the 2nd floor for them to settle in. Didn't worry about school, and luckily for them, he is absolutely filthy rich. Still cannot decide. He offers to let her stay for a few days to think, completely free to leave whenever. Remembers the gangsters who were hunting her down and realizes that she really has nowhere else to go anyway, since her little brother loves this place too. She finally accepts. Dane smiles warmly, welcoming her to their new home. I know what you're thinking, mission accomplished with the healer, right? The main character feels like he forgot something huge. What could it be? Meanwhile, Shinharu checks the forums anxiously. Did Igastick actually die? Getting ridiculous. It has been almost 4 months. Where did he go? Why hasn't he appeared anywhere? She just wants him to return soon. Did he actually retire? Haru would give anything to discover Igastick's current whereabouts and whatever scheme he is cooking up. Meanwhile, in a hidden laboratory, they plan for Dr. Kim Sun-woo to witness the completion of his grand project once he is released. When that fateful day arrives, all of Korea will kneel before the Hanyun group. Absolutely nobody will be able to stop them. Several mad scientists burst into sinister laughter. On another note, we see Hae-yul and Subin peacefully cooking together in the kitchen. Hae-yul knows perfectly well that Subin is the girl who was once kidnapped by the terrifying villain, Igastick. 4 months have already passed since then, and contrary to the horrible rumors, Subin is now living extremely happily. Dane, the actual mastermind behind the villain persona, even moved them into this beautiful house with amazing natural lighting, though he cannot help but complain about why Seo still insists on going down to the underground basement to sleep, especially since she used to so proudly call that dark place the ego base. Hae-yul understands that her duty here is to use her healing powers if Dane ever returns severely injured from his secret missions. They need to prepare. because the dark disaster brewed by the Hanyun group is drawing near. Right then, Seo suddenly bursts in. So this is where you were hiding. Let's plan a crime right now. I'm literally dying of boredom. Dane knows the key moment has finally arrived, so he decides to assemble the entire group. Bill asks in confusion why they must commit illegal acts, leaving the three completely speechless with that unexpectedly logical question. They need to give her a convincing answer. Seo presses him, calling him old to make him get to the point, which freezes Dane when he realizes she stopped calling him brother. And that's where we leave it. Dane looks at Hyul and reminds her that as villains, they obviously have to commit crimes. Listen closely, we are about to see how his plans never hurt innocent people. Keep up Agostic's reputation, they put on a show, set up impossible choices, or even fight Stardust, basically stage terrorist acts that end up helping her. Their new operation was named Bridge Collapse, because a giant monster would appear in Yoido this winter. Right after that, the beast would head north to wipe out the entire peninsula. But if they destroyed the bridge and ran their criminal scheme, the monster would fall straight into the water. Weakness was water, so falling in meant instant death. That way, they could execute a villainous plot and eliminate a real threat at the same time. Two birds with one stone. Couldn't understand how Kim Dane got such valuable information. Kim Dane mysteriously replied it was a trade secret. This time, they would defeat the threat by faking a massive crime. Look with me, it doesn't seem to be Stardust's fault either. Seeing that, Sewin cheered up instantly and asked what style they would use for this major heist. Kim Dane replied they would use money. Soon after, the live stream started and the comment section exploded with excitement. Mango Stick is back. Kim Dane announced to the camera that Ejik has returned. You know what I'll do next, right? What else do you do on a bridge but blow it to pieces? On the bridge realized the attack had started. With a massive blast, both ends of the bridge were blocked off. Kim Dane looked directly at the camera, telling everyone to stop whatever they were doing. Participants for this game are ready. The real players will be every good citizen watching this live stream right now. In other words, all of you. The rules are extremely simple. Submit your bank account to this link and you will instantly get 100,000 won. This event ends at 7 p.m. If over 500,000 people take the cash, I blow up this bridge with everyone trapped. Make your choice. Free money or a blown up bridge. The national debate between greed and survival started right then and there. Bit off. Kim Dane left a deliberate message for Stardust, saying she should just rest today. The comments immediately started teasing him about Mango Stick being the caring villain who worries about his girl. Both know how heroes' work tell them not to show up, and they run right to you. Moments later, a figure appeared running in the distance. It was Stardust. Kim Dane panicked so hard he almost dropped the detonator. He had no choice but to stay cool and greet her, saying it had been a long time. But this time her glare was pure rage, leaving Kim Dane completely and utterly confused. She remained dead silent. Meanwhile, in another part of town, an office worker stared at his phone with absolute joy. He excitedly showed his boss, saying, "Look at this. Entering your bank account gets you 100,000 won. But if 500,000 do it, the bridge explodes." It is an agnostic plot. Boss frowned, doubting anyone would actually do that, but the employee admitted he already took the money. Boss immediately scolded him, asking how he could do something so incredibly foolish. Quickly apologized, admitting he did it the second he found out. A minute later, the employee praised his boss's acting skills. Outside, people were even calling their mothers to ask for their bank details under the pretense of sending them cash. And much to their shock, the money actually transferred. On the bridge, Kim Dane did not expect such coldness, and Stardust's intense stare made him highly nervous. Was she waiting for him to destroy the bridge before attacking? Why was she just staring like that? Was there some hidden memory in the original story about a bridge? He never expected her to get this angry. Felt some guilt, but there was no choice, since this entire sacrifice was meant to save her. If the dark disaster appeared like it did in the original timeline, the current Stardust stood absolutely no chance. That dark disaster marked the very first major tragedy of the original storyline. From that point, the comic stopped being a light-hearted hero story and turned incredibly dark. Kim Dane checked his phone. In this bridge game, 450,000 people already took the money with 3 hours left. Tell me if this isn't wild, you, and I know people here are crazy, and he already won. Kim Dane actually caught himself wishing he would lose this time. So he started the stream again and said, "Citizens, I truly didn't expect you to take the money. You and I might have forgotten, but some heartless fools changed everything. Those hostages who could die at any second are no longer under my control. Get ready, because today we will find out if the people in these cars will act weird again. Thanks for your time. Please introduce yourself." The man replied, "Hello everyone. My name is Cho Young-jin." Kim Dane asked, "Mr. Chi Young-jin, your life is in danger. Are you feeling anxious or nervous?" Young-jin immediately laughed. "Why on earth would I be nervous? As long as the stream viewers refuse the money, the bridge and I are safe, right? I can only apologize on their behalf." After that, many who already took the 100,000 won apologized in the chat, while others hesitated to claim it. Kim Dane could only reply, "Thank you for trusting the good conscience of Korean citizens." "Mr. Young-jin, do you really trust them? Any final message before we end?" Young-jin said, "Seriously, stay strong, Korea. I trust you all." Stardust could not grasp Egostic's plan this time. Kim Dane, on the other hand, was so completely exhausted he felt ready to collapse. "Hope this interview goes normally," but the second he opens that window, listen to those screams. It is Egostic. The passengers went absolutely wild. "He is so handsome in person. We should buy lottery tickets later." Not buy them, right? Everyone looked ridiculously excited despite the extreme danger. "Egostic, we are your #1 fans. But are you seriously going to kill us? You always say that, but you always let everyone go." Kim Dane felt his mind go blank and stiffly ended the interview. Even those random civilians ended up asking Kim Dane for autographs. Kim Dane never expected to sign for autographs. The live chat joked they could not tell who the victims were anymore. "Thanks for the 100,000 won. We got 400,000. Let us eat malatang later. So if we die today, we cannot eat, right?" Kim Dane silently swore he would never interview civilians again. The whole criminal operation turned into a total joke. Kim Dane quietly muttered, "Okay, start the live stream, everyone." 10 p.m. deadline finally arrived. The national criminal event, 100,000 won versus the bridge. I know what you are thinking, but many in the chat swore the total would never hit 500,000. Others apologized to Young-jin, while some complained about how they would get to work if the bridge got destroyed. Kim Dane announced it with a cold laugh. And the answer is that obviously 500,000 people took the 100,000 won. Korean citizens are unbelievable. Enjoy the final fireworks, prepared for your selfishness. Roar, the bridge began to explode. Realized that in the end he actually did it. Kim Dane looked at the camera saying, and with that Egostic out. And fiery explosions tore across the entire bridge. Since Kim Dane had been floating in the air for too long, his physical stamina was reaching its limit. He wanted to watch Stardust rescue everyone before escaping, but the very last car was just too far away. So Kim Dane used his telekinesis to nudge the falling car forward. That allowed Stardust to make a successful rescue. Thank goodness they were saved. In the next second, Kim Dane's head spun and his body began to fall into the abyss. The very last moment, he forced himself to teleport back home. Soon and Lubin rushed over to help. Kim Dane was severely injured once again. When Lubin saw him in that terrible state, she burst into tears. Damage was too severe, and with Lee Heil still away, they had no idea what to do. Meanwhile, Stardust kept thinking about Egostic, analyzing every single one of the theatrical crimes he had pulled off. He had even warned her to never show her real face in front of others. Without his constant support back then, she would never have stepped up. Just hearing his voice always gave her strength. He seemed to understand everything about her, telling her she could definitely do it, to stand up and save them, the one committing the crimes, but now he was gone. She had so many questions for him. Are you truly a villain or just a bad person? Egostic, who are you really? And that is the mystery we are left with. What an absolutely wild way to end this chapter, guys. Alright, stick with me here because the one who saved that car at the very last second was Egostic himself. Those 4 people had no idea they almost died. Stardust understood the situation, but she understood Egostic less and less. Suddenly, a voice spoke up behind her, asking why she was standing there there, getting all emotional by herself. No casualties in this mission either, my sweet Haru. The one who just arrived was the A-rank hero, Frostblade. Thanks for coming, Shinharu whispered. Sohla sighed with relief, just glad to enjoy such a peaceful day. Then she asked Shinharu why she was still working off the clock. Was it because of Agostic again? Do not overthink it. I cannot imagine how happy the president is about the low crime rate, even if he hides it. After analyzing this latest criminal operation, Shinharu shared her thoughts. Felt like Agostic was not actually tormenting her. In fact, maybe he was not even a bad guy. Meanwhile, Kim Dane was still resting inside the recovery capsule, and Ha-yul went to visit him. She doubted if saving him was right. He seemed noble, but what if he grew greedy one day and tried to steal her power? This guy knew absolutely nothing about her, and yet he still rescued both her and Chae-yoon. Watch closely now, because Ha-yul decided to help him. It seems his master plan to recruit a healer worked beautifully. Shinharu explained to Lee Sola that it was extremely strange how Agostic's attacks never harmed any civilians. He only took down actual villains. And back during that bridge incident, he was the one who saved that final car. Hearing such a wild theory, Lisa could not help but tease her affectionately. Oh my god, Haru, do not tell me you think Agostic is that secret S-rank hero Apple Mango. Feel it already. What is your fan club membership number? Shinharu immediately denied having anything like that. Lee Sola admitted there were weird things about Agostic, but it was obvious he tried way too hard to be a villain. Until now, there had been 0 casualties, but of course that only applied to ordinary citizens, so she had to treat him like a regular villain. Even so, Shinharu believed Agostic was acting with the future in mind. No idea what that future was. Lee Sola interrupted her with a sigh. Miss Workaholic, stop talking about that villain in the hat. Any guy you actually like? Go on dates on your days off. Shinharu shot back. You have been single forever. Since when are you an expert? Lee Sola quickly clarified that her family strictly controlled her private life. Not that she could not land a guy. Not know the hero Frostblade, meaning Lee Sola, was actually the heiress of the massive media corporation. Seeing her get so flustered, Shinharu found her adorable. Elsewhere, the notorious S-rank villain, Dr. Kim Sun-woo, was finally being released from prison. He was the chief scientific advisor of the Hanan Group. The moment he stepped out, he demanded a progress update. The subordinate replied that they were at 56% and would finish by next September. Kim Sun-woo replied coldly, way too slow. You must finish before this winter comes to an end. Everything in Korea will be crushed under Dr. Kim Sun-woo's feet. Meanwhile, the news reported that the doctor, jailed for unethical experiments, was now free. He was released today at 7 o'clock sharp, immediately returning to the Hanan Group. A dangerous major player had entered the board, and this terrifying plan was about to begin. 3 months later, the winter snow began to fall. The entire group was chilling outside, completely relaxed. They started a massive snowball fight, and Kim Dane used telekinesis. Jin immediately began yelling insults at him. You are playing dirty, you cheater. Kim Dane still ended up trapping her inside a giant snowball. Afterwards, they went to grab some snacks. Kim Dane was happily eating. COR Surprise attacked him from the side. 3 months flew by like this. The group thoroughly enjoyed the chilly winter days in absolute peace. Kim Dane did consider pulling off another major heist during this period of time, but the current Stardust was already way stronger than in the original storyline, so he did not need to push her anymore. Something else had changed. Ha-yul's expression looked so bright now, a sign that she finally opened her heart to everyone. And as for the public opinion surrounding Agostic, things took a drastic turn too. Bet you can guess what happened. They blamed him for the bridge collapse, completely ruining his reputation. Very people who accepted his money threw all the moral blame onto Agostic instead. Won't believe this everything happened because Agostic laid down those weird terms, triggering the entire criminal plot. He played everyone, calling them accomplices, and Dane did not care one bit, exactly the kind of villain he wanted to be. Now he just had to wait for the terrifying black disaster. So those happy days rolled on. Every single day felt completely peaceful and full of joy. Shortly after, a massive explosion erupted elsewhere. Dr. Kim Sun-woo could not believe what was happening right before his eyes. Where did he go wrong? Right now, the only thing that mattered was escaping with his life. The problem was he could not abandon his life's work. Behemoth was supposed to be a simple test prototype. How did it develop self-awareness? Meanwhile, the Hero Association received an absolute emergency report. Stardust rushed over immediately. A terrifying beast had materialized out of nowhere, putting innocent civilians in grave danger. The monster was heading straight for the city. Stardust prepared to strike, but the president ordered her to stand down. How was she supposed to face a beast that size all by herself? Stardust replied that if there was no way, she would make one, telling the president to just grab some popcorn. Brace yourselves, because what happened next with that monster is something none of us saw coming. The massive leap, the creature plunged into the ocean and died instantly. No one could comprehend what they just witnessed. The president simply demanded a written report from Stardust by tomorrow. Meanwhile, Dane was enjoying the show while munching on popcorn. Poor Shinharu was still stuck writing that report. That night, Dane logged on to browse the online forums. Everyone was debating the same hot topic. Was Agostic actually still a real villain? Known as the Black Disaster, already seemed to possess a certain level of self-intelligence. If it became fully sentient, it could evolve in a wild direction. Not even 3 S-rank heroes fighting all day could defeat it. And even in that best-case scenario, their chances of winning would be incredibly slim. The Black Disaster fully awakened and learned to overcome its fatal weakness to water. Every single hero in South Korea would end up dead. 1,000 comments praised Mango Stick. Shinharu finally realized it. If Egostic had not destroyed that bridge earlier, nobody in Korea could have stopped the beast. But no matter what, he was still technically a villain. The next day, the news broadcasted the official investigation results. The Hanon Group's secret experiment, the country's leading conglomerate, triggered the Black Disaster crisis. Shocking revelation rocked the entire nation. The Hanon Group went bankrupt overnight with 0 executives in sight. The organization's president, along with the lead doctor, Kim Sun-woo, director of the Black Disaster Project, and his entire research team had mysteriously vanished. Dane and the crew watched the broadcast together. Lee Ha-yul coldly commented that those scumbags got what they deserved. Seo Yoon went even further, declaring they should hunt the runaways down, dig up their graves, whip their corpses, and wipe out 3 generations of their families. But Dane assured them the runaways would expose themselves. And here is the best part: he ordered a meeting right after dinner. Yoon instantly guessed that he was plotting another scheme. Then Dane pulled out a map of Hanon Group's secret laboratory, and inside something incredibly powerful was hidden. Behemoth was the Hanon Group's ultimate weapon from their illegal monster trials. Capable of blocking Shadow Walker and surviving nuclear bombs, the beast was crafted from a miraculous substance, serving as the blueprint and design foundation for the Black Disaster itself. Its true power was terrifying and unimaginable. Hearing this, everyone made awkward faces. Yoon could not help but complain right away. Another monster army to trash your body again? Living too comfortably lately? Subin joined the nagging, joking that getting 2 more holes in his stomach would look great on him. Yoon asked if he wanted his ears pierced too. Then later, she and Subin lunged straight at Dane. Dane quickly explained that in the original storyline, the Hero Association did not take any extra measures, so everything would be fine. Meanwhile, they detected several life signs inside the underground Hanon Group facility. It seemed the Hanon Group's monsters were still thriving down there. So stay with me, because the dark secrets of this underground lab are about to get even crazier. Get ready, because today you and I will see the association run completely out of options. The president asked Starship if she was really going, and she agreed instantly, starting the exploration of the Hanung lab. Kim Da-in was also ready to move. With this being an unplanned trip, nerves kicked in. Over the comms, they told him he could turn back, but he immediately acted tough. Real man would never fear monsters, though Seo Yoon and Subin warned him to be extremely careful. Just like always, Kim Da-in started live streaming. This is the Han Group's underground laboratory, where they caused that terrible disaster. What on earth did they do here? Since everyone is dying to know, let us head inside. Meanwhile, the association had already lost all contact with Stardust. To make matters worse, they found out Egostic had also sneaked in. The president instantly lost his temper at him. Why did he go in there? Then he ordered his assistant to bring him half-sweet, half-salty popcorn. Look at how pitch black this underground lab is. Dae-in talks to the camera, wondering what those bastards planned. Stream viewers could also feel the heavy tension, commenting on how terrifying the place looked, and how thick the air felt. Daein forced himself to stay calm, reminding himself that he was the man who made all of Korea tremble. How could he be scared? A second later, a sudden noise spooked him into instantly activating his telekinesis. Taking a closer look, he realized it was actually just a tiny little cat that seemed completely harmless. The real question was, what was a cat doing here? You and I can see things are getting weirder. Suddenly, the tiny feline mutated into a hideous monster, with countless creepy arms sprouting all over its body. Stardust, wandering in another area, heard the gunfire. Kim Daein was already starting to regret his choices. He could have listened to Seo Yoon and stayed outside. Getting his telekinesis at home sounded way better now. But with the beast right in front of him, crying didn't help. He had to get Behemoth out safely. So he used his telekinesis to aim his weapons and opened fire on that absolute abomination. Once the smoke cleared, the monster was gone, and had no clue how deep this facility actually went. In all the chaos, he lost his camera and weapons. Worse, the signal was dead, so he couldn't reach Seo Yoon. Now here is where things get incredibly tense, guys. Out of nowhere, a massive blast completely shatters the wall. Only familiar presence made him realize it instantly. Could this really be Stardust standing there? At the same time, Stardust spotted Agostic. Both instantly took fighting stances and questioned each other. What are you doing here? Stardust asked coldly. I am a hero, so of course I came to solve this. Daein quickly thought about it and had to admit she was totally right. There was no flaw in her logic, but for Stardust, this encounter was definitely not planned. He got totally distracted by her beautiful smile. Stardust warned him that if he just surrendered quietly, she wouldn't have to hurt him too bad. In the nick of time, Daein dodged her deadly strike by teleporting away, quickly yelled for her to stop, admitting he was a villain, but urging her to look around first. Extremely dangerous, and she still had no idea what kind of facility this was. Proposed they cooperate until they reached the deepest level, which immediately made Stardust question his motives. Why did you come? Daein replied that he was just curious after the massive disaster they caused. Maybe they were hiding something worse. Thinking it over, the heroine agreed to team up. Fighting these beasts alone would be tough, so she decided to use Agostic's sudden appearance to her advantage. Daein never imagined his casual proposal would actually work out this well. She knew that trying to capture him by force would only make him flee, so keeping him close was safer. Maybe this was finally her perfect chance to get the answers she desperately wanted about him. Once inside the room, Daein started snooping around, triggering Stardust's rage as she swung a punch at him. You are a villain. Snooping in a classified zone. Dare almost gave Daein a heart attack. And so, the sheer thought of working side by side with Stardust secretly made him feel incredibly happy. Stardust used her instincts to lead. Seeing her clear the way alone shocked him. You think she suspects something? Could she have really developed an insane level of sensory perception this quickly? All right, you and I are diving into the moment they reach the power suppression room, where Stardust pushes Kim Daein inside first. Faced with such intense physical pressure, Kim Daein has no choice but to step inside, feeling exactly like a lab rat. Once inside, he instantly realizes he can't use his telekinesis, and even his teleportation is completely offline. Right after, Stardust steps in and punches the wall to test if their powers are truly gone, and yep, absolutely nullified. Kim Daein can't help but say, I'm a villain, but I wouldn't lie about this. Though deep down he's shaken by his opponent's terrifying raw strength. Her growth is insane. But look closely right then, an alarm blares and the heavy steel door slams shut. Trapped in that sealed room, we have a villain and a hero who have completely lost every single power. To make matters worse, they're both adults. Furiously vents on the door, but Kim Daein tells her it's useless. Save your energy. Check out that timer, the door won't unlock on its own for another 3 hours. No matter how much you punch it, it won't budge. All we can do is wait it out. Kim Daein notices she hurt her hand from striking so hard and calls her out for being reckless. Can't use your powers right now, remember. Hearing this, Stardust immediately glares at him with deep suspicion and asks for her hand. After a brief hesitation, she relents and lets him wrap up her injuries. Feeling awkward, she quickly snaps that she isn't going to thank him, prompting an amused comeback from him. That sounds exactly like a thank you. Soon after, she starts aggressively punching the wall all over again. Seeing there's no way to convince her to stop, Kim Daein decides to just lie down for a bit, thing to do for the next 3 hours. Stardust, you should probably get some rest too since we're stuck. I know what you're thinking, how could he sleep? No way he can lower his guard while locked up in here. And facing a heroine whose raw strength vastly outclasses any ordinary man, the tension in the room is suffocating. Zero chance of relaxing. And Kim Dane suddenly realizes the oxygen levels are dropping dangerously low. Things are getting really bad. And Stardust is also clearly struggling to catch her breath. In her face, she suddenly asks if he was the one who stopped that car on the bridge. Kim Dane's heart skips a beat, realizing she's suspicious, but he plays dumb to avoid her probing question. I'm just a rogue villain rushing ahead without brakes. I have no idea what you're talking about. She keeps pushing, asking about the plane. Why on earth would he save that? Panicking and desperately trying to think of an excuse, he just reminds her of their roles as hero and villain. Your existence is what completes me. Bizarre relationship we share. Really that weird for a hero to save lives? After his dramatic response, she falls completely silent. He knows he sounded overly theatrical from sheer panic, but he can always blame the dramatic outburst on oxygen deprivation. She strikes back, asking why he destroyed the bridge. Already know a monster would spawn right there? Kim Dane defends himself, mocking her for believing wild internet theories, claiming the beast caught him off guard too. But Stardust's intense, serious expression doesn't waver for a second, making him incredibly anxious. What's behind that ice-cold gaze? Him in some clever, calculated way? Did he let some crucial details slip about the attacks? Isn't buying those ridiculous online rumors. Her suspicions run deeper, sensing after their many encounters that he's hiding a far more noble purpose. Begins questioning all of his alleged terror attacks, guided entirely by her sharp hero's intuition. Doesn't clear this up right now, things will only get worse. He has to face the music. Kim Dane suddenly bursts into a loud laugh, admitting he absolutely knew that monster was coming. Everything was set up to fight it. So what? She demands to know how he found out. Premonition powers? Big secret is just hacking. I've got the entire Korean network under my thumb, so finding Han group secrets is child's play for me. Still highly skeptical, she demands to know why a villain would protect civilians, prompting a smug, mocking smirk from him. I hate people stealing my spotlight. If a beast shows up, I'll slay it myself. In the end, you and I know he's just doing it all for her attention. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't care if ordinary people live or die. Why do you even care? Come along with me on this. Hearing that answer, Stardust stands up and approaches Kim Dane with a very strange look. Kim Dane figured something terrible was about to happen, but she just ordered him to move aside because those 3 hours were finally up. Completely shatters the heavy door with one brutal punch. The two keep moving through the laboratory, spotting an ominous warning left on a nearby machine, notes on the temporal teleporter. The target can escape by teleporting. Always keep range protection active. Target likes to sneak attack from behind. Watch out for the Mantis model. Kim Dane instantly realizes they created a teleporter. Could this be the prototype Zero of Behemoth? This was where they used to lock up the Black Disaster. It definitely escaped from here. This annoying search through the underground lab was finally coming to an end. There was nothing interesting left. Stardust figured if this was just a prototype, the real body must still be hidden. Intuition is so sharp, Kim Dane just goes along with it, suggesting they check over there, insisted on going the opposite way. They soon reach their destination, and Kim Dane recognizes it instantly. Behemoth. Pay attention here, guys. Documents, leaving Kim Dane standing right next to Behemoth. They are only temporary allies, and he is trying his best to act like a true villain, but she is way too relaxed. Why does she turn her back on him so easily? That hurts Kim Dane's pride as a villain just a little bit. Kim's words are not enough, so he has to show her directly. Kim Dane wakes the experimental behemoth. Stardust turns around instantly to confront him, asking what he is doing. Kim Dane just replies, "What else? I'm betraying you, obviously." Stardust gets so incredibly furious that she is left completely speechless. In the original story, there was a scene where Dr. Kim Sun-woo used Behemoth to fight Stardust. It could clearly be controlled. Stardust charges at him with full power, screaming that she is going to give him the beating of his life. Behemoth's massive fist clashes head-on with Stardust. The battle has officially begun. Just a few blows, the laboratory structure and all its equipment are smashed to pieces. Kim Dane yells, asking if she plans to destroy the whole lab. The entire place will collapse. Lee replies to fight fair. When does a villain ever play fair? Kim Dane snaps back. This is what it means to be a villain. Get it? The moment you turn your back, you get stabbed. At that exact second, a mantis monster appears right behind Stardust. It is incredibly fast. Bet you did not see this coming. With zero time to teleport her, Kim Dane jumps right in front of her, taking the brutal hit to save her. I do not understand why a Gostic would ever do something like that. Kim Dane just leaves her with one last line, saying she owes him a fingernail, before vanishing immediately. Back at the base, Soon keeps complaining that he stays out all day long without sending any updates. Do you not think about us waiting at home? I will get wrinkles from waiting. Suddenly, a massive crash. Soon notices immediately that Kim Dane is back and is about to yell at him for taking so long. Suddenly we lost contact. Bin and Lee Hyul hear the loud commotion too. When they arrive, they find Kim Dane collapsed and covered in blood. Lee Subin cannot process what she is seeing. Her mind instantly panics, wanting to grab a first aid kit and call an ambulance, while Soon is frozen seeing so much blood. Lee Hyul quickly pushes Soon aside and activates her incredible healing powers. Under a warm, blinding light, Kim Dane's terrible wounds finally start to heal. Meanwhile, Stardust stares at the massive trail of blood he left behind. He lost so much. She understands him even less now. Why did he save her again? Who are you really, Augustus? Once Lee Hyul heals him, Soon and Lee Subin immediately handcuff him. They are terrified he will keep causing trouble. Kim Dane feels like he has lost every last shred of his dignity. Later, Lee Hyul and her brother get ready for class. Before heading out, she apologizes for keeping her healing powers a secret for so long, but he does not mind. Instead, he warmly thanks her for saving him and wishes her a great first day of school with a smile. And that is where we leave them today. Soon warns him that if he sneaks off again, she will never forgive him. Let's dive into this wild scene where she stares at that weird round object, totally confused, and asks, "What is this heavy thing?" Kim Dean calmly replies that it is just a simple anti-stress stone to help him relax. Seo Yoon immediately snapped back. How is a round thing like that going to relieve stress? But he grabbed the orb and whispered, "Behemoth, wake up." Seo Yoon and Subin gasped in sheer terror as Kim Dean's handcuffs instantly shattered into tiny pieces. The next second, endless tentacles shot straight towards Seo Yoon and Subin. Tentacles wrapped them up, lifting them high into the air. As Kim Dae-in coldly asked if they knew what they did wrong, terrified they begged and promised never to do it again. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Shinharu was tossing and turning in bed, unable to sleep because she could not get Agostic out of her head. Okay. This state of constant distraction dragged on for a whole month, and still, she remained exactly the same. Taehyun finally had to ask, "Haru, why are you so spacey lately? Are you worried about something? Something bad must have happened." Pay close attention here, because after hesitating, Haru drops a major question. If a villain saves a hero, what does it mean? Taehyun looked totally confused. What are you talking about? Villain saving a hero. Haru quickly lied, saying she read it in a novel. But Chae-hyun replied that she was actually obsessed with a similar story. Sounds a lot like what you just described. Do you want to check it out? The title of the book was The Forbidden Love Between the Villain Egostic and Heroine Stardust. Seeing that, Haru dropped her head onto her desk in utter despair, yet she still could not stop wondering if he was actually safe. Did he really die like that? No, impossible. A man so incredibly clever and calculating would never lose his life in such a simple way. After all, he held the entire country of Korea in the palm of his hand, so he must still be alive and thriving. When would his next major crime strike? Kim Da-in was also making a massive decision. For now, he would stop committing crimes in person because he really needed to take a well-deserved break. Seo Yoon feared it was forever, but Kim Da-in clarified that it was only a temporary retirement. I know what you are thinking. Who will replace him? Seo Yoon was confused too, but he knew he could not always be on the front lines. Until now, he was the strongest fighter on the entire squad, so it only made sense for him to act in person. Now they had Behemoth, who could distract Stardust with absolute ease. To give Stardust a real challenge, he needed an incredibly powerful ally and a fresh rival, meaning a brand new member was about to arrive. Shortly after, in another spot, a man passionately confessed his love Sia, I love you with all my heart. This white bouquet represents my soul. Please, accept it. Kim Da-in, knowing the original story by heart, expected this exact scene. But the woman coldly replied, "Customer, you had better get lost. I'm incredibly stressed out right now. Seriously coming to fool around at my sacred workplace?" The woman chased the guy away with a single sentence, and seeing it live, Kim Da-in found it absolutely hilarious. The woman's name was Choi Sia. Kim Da-in had been keeping a close eye on her because in the original webtoon she would become the terrifying villain known as Alec. Even though right now she was living as an ordinary citizen, constantly battled the dark destructive urges within her, and her part-time jobs only served to keep those cravings at bay. Basically, she was a walking time bomb. Choi Sa kept complaining about this grueling grind, especially since she had to rush to another job right after. She quickly scanned the area to make sure nobody was lurking nearby, and power to vent all her built-up stress. And after letting go like that, her mood instantly improved. Suddenly, a mysterious voice echoed from right behind her, and Choi Sia immediately recognized the newcomer. It was Agostic himself. Kim Da-in looked at her and said, "I have been searching for someone with your talents for ages. How about you use that incredible strength of yours to help me with my criminal operations?" Hearing about criminal operations, she called him insane. But Kim Da-in replied, "Do you really think all power users have to be villains? I want to see the limits of your strength." Though she refused at first, the two soon began trading blows. Kim Da-in unleashed Behemoth's raw might, forcing Choi Sia to unleash her own immense power for the very first time. Those strikes could not even touch him, which turned out to be exactly what she needed to let off some serious steam. The rush of absolute freedom got her incredibly hyped, but as we leave off, he warns her that his recruitment offer expires in 1 week. Think about it very carefully. Watch with me as Kim Da-in vanishes, right after saying that, leaving Choi Si-hee completely stunned and helpless. That feeling was incredible, and soon after, in another room, Kim Da-in stared at his screen, completely shocked by the results, so he told him with deep regret that it was a real shame. And this was his end. Kim Da-in immediately protested, asking how he could do this after raising him with so much effort. But Siwon just laughed. "Goodbye, brother." Siwon begged him to show mercy this time because she would go broke, but Siwon showed absolutely no pity. "Shut up and go wash 3 days of dishes for a family of 5 that are waiting for you." Kim Da-in sighed in defeat, realizing he raised a tiger, while they asked if he should recruit someone else. 3 whole days have already passed. Is it really fine for you to keep wasting time like this? Kim Da-in calmly replied that she must have already taken the bait, while Choi Si felt completely exhausted. Even her manager noticed something was wrong and suggested she step outside to clear her head. Stepping out, Choi checked her phone, highly intrigued because everyone was talking about Mango and she wanted to know who he was. Now pay close attention. The news headline read, "The most influential villain in Korea, Agostic." Unique villain with his own fan club that actually surpassed the real heroes in popularity. And Choi Si-hee realized his massive influence, discovering that his crimes were anything but ordinary, because despite the massive property damage, his plans had never taken any lives. Choi Si-hee figured it might be worth a shot since she wielded electric powers herself. Shockingly, before Agostic, she never used her full power because her parents hated superhumans and strictly repressed her. It was like an overcharged battery, completely unable to release all the energy pent up inside. Over time, the pressure built up so much that her destructive instinct turned into a bizarre obsession. That was why Kim Da-in offered to recruit her, giving her a deadline of 1 week. He wanted her to think it over during that time as the days ticked by and she barely managed to hold back. Using her power daily, the week flew by, and that night, walking home, she caught a faint noise nearby. She screamed excitedly, asking what took him so long. Can you believe that? Turning around, she saw only a cat and realized her hopes were crushed until a familiar voice spoke right behind her. "Consider my offer?" Instantly replied that she was absolutely ready. "Will gladly accept doing whatever you ask. From rogue operations to anything else, I will do it all. Just let me destroy something already." Hearing this, Kim Da-in immediately activated his teleportation, instantly brought her back to their secret headquarters, to introduce her to everyone as the newest team member. Lee Subin and Lee Hyul welcomed her warmly, but Siwon could not help complaining about another woman joining. Gostik took off his mask to reveal he was Kim Dae-in, and Choi Si-hee recognized him immediately. "Aren't you the handsome guy who visited my cafe last week?" Recognizing him, her face flushed completely red. Pure embarrassment. She accidentally triggered her power, plunging the entire base into darkness in a second. Through the pitch black, someone yelled to turn the lights back on as everything remained totally dark. Another complained that it was an electrical surge, asking if everyone else felt their body go completely numb. Honestly incredible, when suddenly a beam of light appeared, shining directly on Choi Si-hee's face. He had complained, asking what they were doing since he had urgent homework. Nobody going to flip the switch. Lee Hyul's little brother. Meanwhile, in another location, someone was wondering with intense curiosity where Agostic was and what he was doing. In the forums, everyone tried to guess when their favorite villain would return. One post even suggested hitting so they could quickly see Agostic face off against the true hero of this era on his official fan club. Suddenly, a notification popped up, congratulating her on becoming an official member of the club. Shin Haru had no idea how she ended up in this situation, remembering Frostblade's past advice. He had asked her if she joined the Agostic fan forum, and recalling that, she just tried to force herself to sleep. And that's where we leave it, with him saving her and saying, "Now you owe me." "All right, you and I are diving headfirst into this madness," because our girl just can't stop overthinking after accidentally blacking out the entire base. She kept bowing and apologizing, claiming everything was entirely her fault. Hyojin just shrugged it off, since he was free to fix the wiring anyway. Kim Dae-in patted Sehee on the shoulder, steering her to a much quieter spot. No one else around, a very confused Sehee asked him what he was planning. Kim Dae-in told her to just let loose and unleash her full, limitless power. Hearing that, she instantly activated her lightning and warned him to dodge fast. The moment that electrical surge exploded, he used his teleportation to instantly warp away to safety. He couldn't help but marvel at her insane strength as blinding light illuminated the entire area. Completely exhausted after releasing all that energy, Sehee asked if he was satisfied. He promised she could use her powers freely here, but she's still worried if they would hurt people. Kim Dae-in quickly assured her that they never resorted to violence. Sounds totally ridiculous to me. But if nobody gets hurt, technically it counts as peaceful. Then she asked his age, calculated for a second, and said his body was 23, making her pause at their shared age. "Me down after researching me, right?" "Formal." Kim Dae-in just smiled. "Let's speak casually from now on then. Welcome to Team Ego." Sehee couldn't help but ask, what is Team Ego even supposed to mean? Cringed at his naming taste, but her intense training officially began. Kim Dae-in guided her, telling her to visualize electricity wrapping around her entire body, and that energy into the ground, making the entire earth shake. Woken up by the deafening noise, a grumpy Seojin asked what they were doing up so early. Special preparation, since she would have to face Stardust on their next mission. Sehee doubted this trick would actually work, and he felt something was missing too until it suddenly clicked. She needed to feel the currents wrap around her feet before shooting them down, focusing all that power below. Sehee successfully unleashed her energy, and her body slowly began to float in mid-air. He nodded, wrapping up today's session, while Seojin handed her a water bottle as Dae-in stared intensely. "Trust me, you already know." She snapped, "What are you looking at?" "I'm drenched in sweat. Go shower." Annoyed, she threw the bottle, snapping that of course she'd sweat after a workout. "Think everyone fights with fancy telekinesis like you." Kim Dae-in activated Behemoth's power with a smirk. "Sehee, does that mean you want to test me?" And just like that, they started sparring. Hyojin groaned on the sidelines, telling them to act like adults. A month later, late at night, the trio was gaming. Kim Dae-in was screaming to check 9 o'clock while complaining without a single pause. "Your aim is trash. What kind of shot is that?" There they were, gaming secretly past bedtime. One voice cut them off, scaring her so badly she threw her controller. Kim Dae-in was labeled the mastermind when Subin caught them red-handed. They gamed secretly instead of sleeping, getting a furious lecture from Subin. A major heist planned for today, yet they stayed up until sunrise. It had been a while, so excitement took over. Under her glare, all three felt incredibly guilty. Kim Dae-in tried to diffuse the tension, suggesting they should all head straight to bed. Seo-jin immediately slipped away, while Dae-in tried to flee too, claiming he needed sleep for tomorrow, and stopped him with a cold voice as the other two watched secretly from afar. They both knew how terrifying she was when angry, and neither wanted to face her wrath. The next day, Stardust received an emergency report ordering all civilians to take immediate shelter. Reports of villain activity showed everyone in a 350-meter radius had safely evacuated. Heading to the scene, the hero Stardust believed what she'd been waiting for had finally returned. Arriving, she spots something weird, and trust me, what follows is going to shock you. Team Ego's newest ally, Choi Si-hee, makes her grand debut to Stardust as the villain Ilix. Realizing it wasn't agnostic, Stardust felt a bit disappointed, but she still addressed her with absolute coldness. "Villain, stop your crimes and surrender now. Refuse, and I will have no choice but to take you down by force." Instantly activated her power, grazing Stardust's face with a heavy lightning bolt while introducing herself. "My name is Elix. For your own good, I will be your opponent." That strike had seriously grazed the hero's cheek. Kim Dae-in sought her out. Confused, she asked if yesterday's training session wasn't already over. Kim Dae-in told her he forgot to teach her his ultimate combat move, calling it the Thunder Fist. "Doesn't that sound awesome? I need to explain exactly how it works." She mocked his terrible taste in names, completely unaware that in the original timeline she was the one who named it. He explained that this technique isn't just about firing random sparks of electricity. You must imagine wrapping your hand in pure lightning, clenching your fist and striking with absolute force. Then you push the power to its limit, concentrating that massive electrical charge into a single point on your fist. Now pay close attention, because she was already doing it. Literally exploded with lightning. Impact carved a deep, scorched trench in the ground. Kim Dae-in, deeply satisfied, asked her what she thought. "This is the Thunder Fist. 1 week until the mission, so focus on mastering this attack." "You want me to use this against Stardust? Why are you being so cruel to her?" Kim Dae-in dramatically replied that it was because he is a villain with a tragic past, making her sigh. "Nonsense are you talking about? You look ridiculous." And just like that, the day of the attack arrived. Elix smirked. "All an A-rank hero can do." Her rapid-fire assaults forced Stardust to dodge, unable to mount a counterattack. Meanwhile, someone was watching the entire battle from afar. Kim Dae-in watched from the best VIP seat, popcorn in hand, an exclusive free show custom-made just for him. The electrical current was hurting Stardust immensely, but to get close to Elix, she had to endure the pain. Immediately noticed Stardust's strategy, trying to force her way through the barrier of lightning, so she cranked her lightning up to maximum power. Nearby buildings collapsed from the overload and exploded. Second, she believed taking down this hero would be a breeze. Look at this. Stardust didn't just survive the shock. She brushed off the electricity with her bare hands, leaving Si-hee completely frozen. She quickly used her energy to dash back and create distance, wondering if this woman was actually a monster. Had Agostic really been fighting someone like this all along? Stardust was already getting used to her attacks, and that's exactly why Kim Dae-in worked so hard training Si-hee. He wanted to test Stardust's ultimate endurance. Compared to the brutal tragedies she endured in the original storyline, this test was absolutely nothing. Si-hee kept throwing violent bursts of lightning, but her attacks barely scratched her anymore. Stardust said coldly, "Your name is Elix, right? You can still surrender. If you do, I will arrest you safely." Si-hee screamed at her to shut up, saying she asked for this. Instantly, Stardust charged forward like a flash. Choi Si-hee also gathered every drop of power she had left. Their fists collided with a brutal crash, shattering the ground. In that exact instant, Kim Dae-in used his teleportation. He appeared right on the edge of the battlefield, setting up his projector to watch the fight's conclusion. The feed was crystal clear. Stardust stood almost completely unharmed before a massive trench carved into the earth. On the other hand, Choi Si-hee ended up with a severely injured arm after that massive clash. Stardust immediately asked who she was talking about earlier, and if someone was pulling her strings. Si-hee just smirked. "Think I'm going to tell you." The hero calmly replied that it was fine, they could talk later. Right then, a sudden flash of light made Si-hee vanish. Recognizing that familiar teleportation, Stardust instantly knew who it was. A second later, that unmistakable voice echoed. "Hello, Stardust." "Of course it's me. I am Agostic. It's been a while." He had turned on his live stream, and the chat exploded, chanting his name. You and I just witnessed pure genius, and the chat is already dying to know who this mystery girl is. Alright, check this out. The chat went wild when they saw a Ghostic cheating live right in front of Stardust. Right as the stream kicked off, everyone saw a Ghostic carrying some random girl in his arms like a princess. Stardust just stared, unable to resist asking if he was actually alive, but Dayan had no idea why she doubted it. Is that really such bad news for you? Stardust quietly mumbled, relieved to see that he was actually okay. Dayan teased her, asking if she was truly happy, adding he never expected the grand hero Stardust to care, even offered to let her know next time, which immediately made Stardust's face turn completely bright red. Complained about him taking so long, but Dan apologized, saying he wanted to assess things before stepping in. That was the exact second Stardust realized Agostic was still holding that other girl in his arms. Dayan felt the sudden heavy tension because Stardust looked terrifying as she slowly approached him step by step. A terrified Choi Sahi asked why the hero was acting so weirdly, but Dayan was completely clueless as well. At this point, he could only guess this was the raw, unbridled fury of a hero. Stardust looked ready to tear both villains apart, furious that Dayan suddenly crashed the party to save Choi Sahi, demanding coldly. She asked what he was doing there, and Dayan replied he came to save his comrade, a word she slowly repeated. Now watch closely, because Dayan projected several silhouettes on the screen to finally introduce his powerful crew, the elite villain alliance he created, leaving Stardust in absolute stunning shock. Dayan kept bragging, claiming his allies were just as insanely powerful as the girl he was currently carrying. He warned her he wouldn't be pulling solo crimes anymore, telling her she'd better watch her back from now on. Suddenly, Dayan ordered a 100,000-volt attack, sending a lethal lightning bolt shooting straight towards Stardust. Sahi couldn't help but complain, reminding him that he'd explicitly forbidden her from using that power. Dayan just smirked at Stardust, telling her she was still way too slow to catch him and to keep trying. With that, both of them vanished instantly, leaving behind an incredibly angry Stardust, who screamed at them to stop. She slammed the ground in frustration as a strange, overwhelming wave of irritation started taking over her entire body. I know what you're thinking. She's totally jealous of Elektra and Egostic acting so close. Her mind kept picturing extremely weird conversations between the two, so she grit her teeth, swearing she'd defeat him next time, no matter what. Meanwhile, Dayan arrived at an isolated, quiet spot and slammed his hand hard against the ground. Then, using his teleportation, he descended deep underground. Scanning the area, he confirmed he was in the right spot, the 30th floor of the Endless Stairs, with its fake wall, classic hallway, and green-flamed candles. A massive obsidian door loomed before him. A voice welcomed him from within, asking what brought him to this place, revealing the mystical Vine Witch, and asked her to use her magical powers to seal two incredibly important journals he had on him. One detailed the mechanics of this world, while the other held the future. As he offered a chest to pay for the seal, the witch inspected the chest, praising the beautiful gems before accepting the deal and asking how long the spell should last. Dan replied that they must last until the day he dies, causing her to let out a sad sigh. He immediately began casting the enchantment while Dayan watched the entire process unfold in absolute heavy silence. Witch declared that nobody but the owner could read the pages, earning a heartfelt thanks from a deeply relieved Dayan. Seeing him leave, she warned him that his road would be rough, urging him to stay strong, which made Dayan stop in surprise. He replied that someone had to do it, though he recalled the witch in the original novel never offered him such encouragement. Later on, Dayan walked up to the rooftop of a massive skyscraper all by himself. There was only one real reason he chose to fight so hard in this crazy world, and that was Stardust. Knowing far worse tragedies were on the way, he yelled to the sky, begging her to trust him, when Sahi suddenly called. Dinner was ready, and everyone was waiting, making Dayan smile as he promised to get back super fast. There in 3 seconds, as this incredible story rushed toward the massive climax of its very first arc. Inside a hidden control room, a mysterious voice whispered that the promised time had finally arrived. With a massive rumble, a colossal cutting machine rose from deep underground, growing more insanely giant by the second. And that's where we leave things as a massive robot starts flattening the city, Trust me, this is pure madness. Join me in this boring lecture room where everything is about to explode. A student was watching an agnostic video and suddenly shouted, Alex is gorgeous. You think they are dating? Haru, sitting right behind him, heard everything as another classmate jumped in to deny the rumor. What are you talking about? Did you see how close they looked on camera? Nobody carries a regular friend princess style. Single guy thinks? They only hug publicly because there is nothing between them. If he really liked her, he would never dare be so obvious. Looking at it that way, it makes perfect sense. Plus, that has been Agnostic's attitude since day one. It's obvious his heart only belongs to Stardust. That's exactly why I feel so bad for her. Almost cried watching the stream. Even if Agnostic is just a villain, Stardust must feel something for him, right? Seeing another woman right in front of her was brutal. Yet another guy insisted Egostic and Alex make a better match. As soon as he said that, he noticed Shinharu impatiently tapping her desk, wondering if he overspoke, fearing she shipped the official Egostic and Stardust couple. Just then, the professor announced the start of class. The theory we will study today is but at that exact moment, Shinharu received an emergency alert, quickly packed her things and dashed out, asking headquarters if a villain had appeared. Now watch closely, because headquarters just reported a massive unknown weapon heading straight for the southeast city. Dispatched by the Hero Association, Stardust was shocked by what stood before her, a truly colossal robot. Every single step crushed entire buildings. Suddenly, a small car was about to be completely crushed. A flash of light dashed right under the giant. It was Stardust, saving the vehicle just in time. He yelled at the civilians inside, if the car still works, escape as fast as possible. Instantly, she charged back at the giant. Stardust, you watchdog of the association. Can you stop? The last spark of hope for the Harnum group. Concentrating all her power, she unleashed a massive punch, but the next instant the machine sent her flying. Couldn't believe the insane strength of that metal monster. Without hesitation, she stood up and charged once more. Then a desperate cry echoed from within. Doctor, what happened? Right after, another broadcast hijacked the signal. Did you see that coming? Screaming go lightning beast, the robot crashed to the ground. Amidst a thick cloud of smoke, a familiar voice echoed, Stardust, can you hear me? He knew instantly it was Agnostic. Turns out the robot failed because Team Ego had been fighting tooth and nail to hack its system. Dane mocked, exactly, it is me, Egostic. Friends at Harnum built a giant machine that is just too awesome. It would be a sin not to take it for a spin. Letting out a maniacal laugh, Choi Sahi sighed, calling Kim Dane ridiculous, but Siawu assured her she would get used to it soon. Kim Dane continued his theatrical act. Stardust, I am going to use this metal toy to burn the city to ashes. Can you stop me all by yourself? Hearing this, the heroine got truly excited. Of course I will, Egostic. Turned into a bolt of light and slammed into the machine, while Siawu told Dane the power was fully ready. Dane grabbed the control levers, thinking to himself, Haru, today you are getting some serious training. The massive mechanical arm activated, spinning violently to clash head-on right against Stardust's incoming fist. It was clear her strength couldn't match the robot, so Dane seized the moment to drop his best villainous taunt. Stardust, do you really think that with such weak strength you can stop this metallic giant? Don't make me laugh. Mocking her, he whispered to Siwu to crank up the power and finish this in one strike. With power pushed to the max, the giant started throwing ferocious direct strikes at Stardust. She knew instantly she had to dodge with more agility, still lacking the speed needed to win. She had to surpass her own limits. Pushing her body, she barely dodged every brutal strike. Exactly, this was Dane's plan all along. He even happily thought he'd get to go home completely scratch-free today. Far from there, someone reported in a tense voice, everything is ready. Korea's leader knew only one drastic option could stop this massive threat, so he pressed the missile launch button. Trust me, this entire area is about to be wiped out. Let's dive into the absolute madness that unfolded in that meeting, while Seo Yoon and Dae-in focused on piloting the robot and had no idea what was coming next. Stardust easily dodged the giant robot's flames, and in that split second, Dan also made a final decision. Ordered the power raised one level higher, confident that someone like Stardust could easily handle the pressure. Then Stardust herself was getting fired up, and with a thunderous blast, the robot took a heavy, violent hit. The crew inside the machine ended up completely dizzy, but Dayan stomped on the control pedal and pushed forward. He had to show off the joystick skills he had spent countless hours practicing back in the arcades. Stardust was finally getting into the rhythm as her strength surged, screaming in her mind for a Gostic to bring it on. She was slowly but surely adapting to the massive robot's attack patterns. Gostic was still waiting for her, so she needed to end this fast, but in the next second, a massive fist sent her flying. Dayan immediately mocked her, asking if she truly believed she had already gotten used to his attack patterns. Hearing those mocking words immediately made Stardust absolutely furious. Now watch closely, because this robot octopus looks wild, and Stardust didn't hesitate to throw a massive punch. That strike landed right on one of the robot's limbs, prompting Seo Yoon to instantly yell at Dayan and ask what he was doing. Dayan just grinned, saying that was the fun part, before finally getting serious and ordering the robotic octopus to increase its power. The machine didn't react at all, so Dayan yelled once again to increase the power. Seo Yoon regained control with great difficulty, finally managing to get the massive machine moving once again. Dayan mocked her, asking if this was really her limit and if she could keep up with this speed, while the chat absolutely exploded. Is this battle even real? We were basically witnessing a clash between the strongest beings on the entire planet. Was this really the hero they used to call useless? The viewers were so excited their chests felt like they were on fire. Would Stardust actually reach S rank this time? Meanwhile, inside the robot, Seo Yoon and Dayan kept bickering back and forth. Hearing their bickering irritated Stardust even more, giving her the perfect excuse to completely smash this giant weapon once and for all. And it was all because of Agostic. Without him, she never could have defeated this giant weapon. And you and I both know the best part. She could do it, slamming into the robot and shaking its core. I couldn't help but comment in complete shock at how this hero seemed 10 times stronger than before. Seo Yoon warned that their power levels were at the absolute limit, and they had to finish this in under 10 minutes. Dayan said they would enjoy every single second, prompting an angry Seo Yoon to scream that he was completely out of his mind. He was ready to blow, while poor Lee Subin got dizzy inside, and Stardust soared high above them all. He was aiming directly at the core because she knew for a fact that Egostic was hiding inside. Just then, she received an urgent alert from the association, ordering her to clear the area immediately. The president had fired a nuclear missile at the giant weapon, meaning she would die if caught, leaving Stardust frozen in sheer shock. The president completely lost his mind. If that missile went off, innocent civilians would be in extreme danger, fully capable of taking down the threat on her own. So why would they do this? The association helplessly explained that the president feared looking weak, making this an official national-level command. The association has no power to stop this, so stop asking questions and get out of there right now. Ian, who knew absolutely nothing about the threat, kept mocking her and asking how long she planned to just stand there. My giant robot is itching for a fight and attacking. He was actually waiting for her. Really a villain who cared about her safety? No idea a nuke was coming, so she ripped off her earpiece. Later, she took off, flying in the opposite direction without any hesitation. The association staff screamed in panic as she threw away her earpiece, but the director calmly assured everyone that it was fine. As always, if we just sit back and watch, the answers will reveal themselves. So let's see how this ends. Ian had no clue where Stardust was heading and assumed she was running, so he kept acting out his villain role. Gostic was a villain, and if they needed a motive, the country had thousands of reasons to eliminate him. He was a ruthless criminal who loved staging kidnappings, but for some strange reason, Stardust couldn't bring herself to hate him, and that's where we leave things, with her flying straight toward a live nuclear missile without a single shred of fear. All right. Brace yourselves as the missile closed in. Stardust remembered Egostic's painful words, "You owe me one," fueled her determination to stop the nuke. Before it could detonate, Stardust reached out and blocked it head-on. The devastating force of the impact pushed her to use every single drop of her power. Kim Dane finally noticed something flying straight toward them, clueless about what it was until it finally clicked. Wait, is that a missile? Dane froze in disbelief while Stardust poured everything into resisting that raw destruction. Rocket's thrusters started losing their power. In the moment, she forced the missile up into the sky, leaving a panicked Kim Dane wondering what was going on, completely blind to the situation. He scrambled to trace exactly where this missile had been launched from. Seo Yoon found the answer almost instantly, yelling, "I have it." It was a nuclear launch authorized by the president, and worse, only had 10 seconds before detonation. Closely here, the president was still feeling smug, but at the very last second, Stardust gripped the massive weapon and rocketed upward while Frostblade was just casually shopping outside. For a moment, Dane stood there completely helpless as Stardust dragged that deadly payload high into the clouds. The very last millisecond, she hurled it away, unleashing a blinding blast and a massive mushroom cloud. As the nuke detonated safely in the sky, Lee Hayu watched in awe while the association president dropped his popcorn. And just like that, the corrupt president's smug face completely darkened. So and Sihi were left staring in absolute shock, while a desperate Dane screamed Stardust's name out loud. Utterly drained, Stardust's energy was completely depleted, leaving her in a helpless freefall from the heavens. Thankfully, a hand caught her in mid-air. Panicked, "What were you thinking? Who told you to save us?" Pulled her close, landing safely and gently back onto the solid ground. Jane never expected a hero with such monstrous power to feel so fragile in his arms, and seeing her pale face sent a sharp pang through his heart. "I know what you're thinking is, she going to snap like that? Mad that a villain is holding her?" And quickly covers, saying, "I thought you ran away. How did you move so fast?" Intercept that weapon anyway. The real target was just that giant robot octopus. That boss machine was already half broken. If the missile hit it, the whole thing would be totally ruined. Didn't notice, this entire city would have been wiped off the map. Why block it? Stardust just answered softly, "Exactly for that reason. Let's just say we are finally even now." With that, she drifted off. But what was that faint smile about? Did she decode his secret? Did she realize he isn't some generic villain? Luckily, she was out of danger, all thanks to how incredibly durable our favorite hero has always been. Suddenly, Subin buzzed his earpiece. "Boss, the president authorized that launch." Dane realized the stakes just got completely out of control. If the public realized Stardust saved them from a government nuke, they'd ship them even harder. Couldn't let that happen. So he barked, "Subin, start the live stream right now." And ready for that exact command, went live instantly. Dane stared dead into the camera saying, "Hello everyone, I am Egostic." The comment section exploded. Everyone was spamming questions, demanding to know what happened after Stardust flew off and the feed cut. And smiled, "Want to know where Stardust went? Look, she is right here." Seeing her unconscious sent shockwaves through the stream. Some assumed she lost, while others blamed Egostic for going too far. But he coldly clarified, "I didn't do this. The president did. Just to eliminate me, he shot a nuclear weapon directly toward our own city, using a weapon of mass destruction on a single villain." The entire internet absolutely exploded with furious rage. And trust me, the public was absolutely furious seeing their leader abandon them just to wipe out Agostic.